2, 1. What up, folks? Once again, it is indeed your boy, Tim, the handsome liberal. Kamala Harris is in the news. Obviously, she is the presumptive Democratic nominee. Until we have the Democratic National Convention, she remains the presumptive Democratic nominee, but it's almost a absolute certainty at this point that Kamala Harris will represent the Democratic Party. However, what about representing integrity, consistency, and I just want to say being unique? Because there is no doubt about it, Kamala Harris, while in Nevada at a rally, promised to give tax-free, allow the folks in the service industry that work for tips. You know, we're talking about rideshare drivers, taxi drivers, concierge, folks who may be parking valet, folks that are in restaurants, waitresses, bartenders. Kamala Harris promised to let them keep their tips tax-free. Where the hell have we heard that before? Is that unique? Is that something that Kamala Harris came up with all on her own? That she's going to let folks in the service industry keep their tips tax-free? Where the hell may she have gotten such an idea? Was it from some educated Democratic policymaker? Maybe some liberal advised her? Perhaps a progressive told her this was the right thing to do. How about the one and only Donald J. Trump? There is no doubt at all, I don't believe from anybody on the left or the right, that Kamala Harris did not steal former President Trump's campaign promise, a policy that he put forward first. Undoubtedly, he put it first. Kamala Harris stole one of Trump's promises if reelected. So right off the bat, we're going to be asking, does it matter? Does that matter? If one presidential candidate comes up with a policy that is highly favorable to the voting public, does it matter if his or her opposing candidate steals that campaign policy promise and starts doing the same thing? Or is it, good for one, good for all? I want to ask you because obviously Kamala Harris did not come up with this. President Trump absolutely did, was going around from town to town saying it. Kamala Harris wished that she'd go to Nevada, talking about Las Vegas, the whole state of Nevada for that matter, but particularly in Las Vegas, Reno, Needles, all these gambling towns where damn near everybody works for tips. She goes to Nevada and tells folks you're going to get to keep your tips tax-free. Do you think it'll switch any votes? Because it shouldn't surprise anyone that if you're a waitress and you're making a killing off tips, maybe at a high-end restaurant, and you're forking over all those taxes on it, having a candidate promising to let you keep your taxes tip-free or your tips tax-free, having a Biden moment here, letting you keep your tips tax-free would certainly be something worthy of considering voting for them. But now you got it coming from both candidates. So obviously Kamala stole the promise of Trump. I want to ask you folks right off the bat, does that make you view Kamala any different now that it's clear at least one of her campaign promises, she's stealing it from the other guy? I would submit to you also Biden, in regards to Trump's original border protection policies, Biden has stolen some promises from Trump as well. A lot of folks will tell you, I didn't favor Trump's tweets or I didn't favor his mouth, but he had a lot of great policies. Well, when you start to see Democrats taking those policies and keeping them alive after trying something else, maybe, perhaps, Trump might have been right. We're going to talk about that. That is indeed the first topic. You know, we always come with a couple of topics. Number two, this might be ego-oriented. This might just be someone, like I said, want to stroke their ego, has this image issue. But does crowd size at these rallies, at these campaign events, does crowd size make a difference at all? Now, obviously, Trump is constantly talking about crowd size. Been talking about it for years. Been bragging on the size of his crowds for years. Even during the pandemic, Trump had these big folks showing up to show support for him, and Biden had folks out there sitting in their cars, social distancing, blowing the horn. So Trump has always had these huge crowds. However, it looks like Kamala Harris is now drawing quite a few supporters. And we want to talk about one particular event, Romulus, Michigan. This just happened last week. Kamala Harris showed up to have a campaign rally in Romulus, Michigan, a suburb outside of Detroit. There's a photo of Air Force Two. You know what Air Force One is? Air Force Two is just simply the same damn plane that the vice president. Anyway, the plane's in the background, and Kamala Harris is getting off, and there's just like thousands of people there. President Trump took to the internet to state that that crowd was artificial intelligence, stating that Kamala Harris generated a crowd, social media, internet, on her website, on her, X account, whatever the case may be. That the people you see pictured at the event are not actually there, and that Kamala Harris and her campaign team, I suppose, fabricated it all. So I'll ask you folks right off the bat, do you think Kamala Harris would do that? Do you think the crowds for Kamala Harris are significantly smaller than what you're seeing on TV, and maybe it is artificially generated, as Trump is stating? Now, we'll follow up before we get to the actual program. There is no shortage of news media flat out stating that Trump's claims that her crowd size was due to artificial intelligence is false. Period. False. You Google it, every article you get suggests that Trump is making that up. But what about you? Do you believe that Trump is actually telling the truth? So those are going to be our two topics on this fairly interesting Saturday. Like I stated, folks, we're normally here Monday through Friday, but the news is moving so damn fast. We're often doing weekend and night shows, probably right up to Election Day, something like that. So I do appreciate you folks that do tune in with these, off schedule shows, but I do appreciate you tuning in. I always like to hear the folks. And I do have somewhat of a side topic. Trump continues to state he is beating Kamala Harris in the polls. Yet every poll seems to say otherwise. Do you believe Trump is correct and that the polls are lying to you? Because Trump, no matter, we're talking about the swing states. We're not talking about the polls in Alabama or the polls in Montana or the polls in Illinois. We know which way those states are going to go. We're talking about Nevada. We're talking about Arizona. We're talking about Georgia. We're talking about Michigan, Pennsylvania. We're talking about the swing states. Trump is claiming that he is trashing Kamala Harris and that all the polls are lying. So I do want to have that as a side topic. You guys know how the program is ran. We are MAGA friendly. We don't block, ban, or censor anyone. We've been MAGA friendly since day one. Always have, always will be. This is an uncensored format. We go left of Bernie Sanders, so I'm having dinner with QAnon. Nobody gets blocked. You don't have to agree with anybody in the damn comment section. You sure as hell don't have to agree with the host. That's how free speech works. So looking in the comments, that is people, he's just jealous he can't get that many at his rallies. He wishes. Beth, I don't know. I think Trump can, if Trump called for 50,000 people to show up, I think he could easily get it. I don't want to Kamala Harris is drawing some pretty big crowds, but I don't think Trump would have a problem drawing a big crowd if he wanted one. There's a lot of love for Trump as well. Looking in the comments, why is he not traveling right now? It's a good question. We just had a rally in Montana. Trump just had a rally in Montana a few days ago to help out a Republican senator that's in that state, because apparently that state is starting to give a blue. Is the governor of Montana a Democrat? I don't think so. Maybe let me know in the comments. But there is a senator in that state that needs Trump's help. That's why he was in Montana. But you ask why isn't Trump traveling? Some folks are going to push back and say, why isn't Kamala, after 21 days in the race, not taking interviews? Look at in the comments. Before, I want to say appreciate that graphic that just popped up. A little to the left. Thank you for that graphic. Appreciate that. Speaking of which, good afternoon. A little to the left. So, if the box... So, does crowd size matter in your humble opinion? A little to the left. Are you there? Okay, apparently he has some audio issues. We'll move it on. Continuing on. Tired of listening to ignorant people, says Gloria, all day. Love the name. Sorry if there's a lot of... Listen, it's a country with 350 plus million people in it. Surely you don't think everybody in this damn country is going to be intelligent, do you? I get called ignorant every day. Travelman, 98. Yeah, see if the box is working. Trump just did an hour-long press conference and answered all the questions. Trump is not afraid of the camera. He's not. Travelman, good afternoon.
Hello.
Hey,
Hello.
can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
You hear me?
Yeah. Okay, you're out. Now you got really bad. I'm going to have to try to travel and come back. I don't know what you were switching around with, but your audio went from great to incredibly muffled. So try it again. Political tick-tock. What the hell's going on with the box today? Few troublesome callers.
What's going on, man?
There you go. Good afternoon. Or good evening, rather.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
I'm doing good.
You got an echo.
So, the first topic was Kamala.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what was the question?
She's basically copying. It's gonna be hard to talk to you because I got a major echo. Are you on Bluetooth?
Yeah, let me turn it off and see if that helps. All right, is that any better?
Let's see. Maybe. Let me see. I think. Yeah, it's better. It's better. Okay.
Okay, good.
Kamala has copied Trump's promise to give service workers basically tax breaks on their tips. Does that matter at all?
It should, but it won't. I mean, for the people that are going to vote for Kamala, they're going to vote for her regardless. She can still, their damn pet that they've had for 15 years, and they're still going to vote for her. So I don't think it makes a difference, but I think it shows her character, and I think it shows the bias in the media, because when Trump proposed that, CNN, MSNBC, ABC, they all said that, you know, this would be catastrophic as far as income taxes, and it would be all bad. And then when she said it, they've been around the news talking about how good of an idea that is. And, you know, like, so, I mean, it's a double-edged sword. So it's kind of pointed out the bias in the media, and it also pointed out her character, the fact that she's unoriginal. She has no platform to run on. She's been in the White House to some degree, rather number one or number two, for 4 years. And if she was going to do any of this shit or propose any of this shit, why is she waiting until now to bring it public? So,
well, I will agree with you that it clearly seems to be some bias in the media now that she's saying the same thing as Trump. But I disagree with you and suggest that she has no platform to run on. You can't blame her for all of the failures of the Biden administration, but then say she has no platform. She's running. If you're going to say she has a platform, it's what Biden was doing, continuing that platform.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, to me, that's probably worse than having no platform.
Well, I'll push back by saying taking away women's right to choose in a host of states, I think that's a platform that's going to help her.
I mean, the states are going to get to determine rather through legislation or through voters what they want for each of their states, as it was intended to be in the Constitution. If they want to make a big deal out of it and make it seem like, Trump's already come out publicly and said what his stance are. You had You had her VP Waltz the other day say Trump was against IVF, and then he made it personal about how him and his wife and blah, 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 blah. Donald Trump has never, ever said he wanted to take away IVF, ever, not once. In fact, he talked about how good it was to have more families.
Yeah, but wait a minute. Trump is running a campaign that he is not going to be for letting the federal government make decisions on abortion. He's made it clear it should be handed back to the states. So it doesn't matter if he's for IVF or not. If the states decide against it, he's made it clear he's going to let them do it.
Those are state. Understood, point taken. But from a federal standpoint, which is where his power begins and ends, if he's back in the White House, he is not going to federally mandate a ban on abortions. He said that. So, I mean, what else can he say? It's about like when people say he never, talk down against the KKK or any of these other people, and he's on video doing it 50 times. You know, you can say what you want to say, but ultimately, you got to take him for what he said he's going to do.
So I'm going to bring up him promising to give police immunity from prosecution. Should I take him as what he said he's going to do?
Yeah, I think that there should be varying cases of...
That ain't what he said.
Well, we'll see what he does. At the end of the day, he only, again, like I said, his power begins and ends at the federal level. He cannot dictate immunity at the state level for police officers. So,
yeah, but he can give all of the federal police officers immunity.
What federal police officers, like from your standpoint, because I've been on your show before, what your fear is about federal police or for police officers and immunity? Give me an example where the feds are guilty of any of the things from a law enforcement standpoint that you see being used to manipulate voters on a local level, right? You can't. I mean,
well, it's hard to say because the federal police has never had immunity from prosecution. I do believe that if you give somebody unrestricted powers with no accountability, you can make a good man turn bad. If I knew I could walk into a bank and take all the damn money with no accountability, I don't have a criminal record at all right now. Nothing is on my rap sheet. I haven't even had a speeding ticket in about a decade. But if I knew I could do things with no accountability, I might not be as good as I am.
Well, there's levels of immunity, right?
He said immunity from prosecution. He didn't state anything about levels.
Well, I know, but he can't through executive order. That's going to take the legislative branch to make a law, and obviously, no one's going to get pure immunity for prosecutions. I don't even think Trump supporters would support any member of law enforcement having full immunity. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Well, I gotta say, he stated it, and I have not heard the right being critical of it at all. I'm hearing him talking about playing for the wrong sports team, taking down statues and all of this stuff. I'm not hearing the right say anything at all or even asking what it should mean by that. No one is questioning him on that. And he's on video saying it.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we'll see what happens. It's not on his platform to get police immunity. So if he made an off-the-cuff statement and people are running with it and trying to politicize it, I understand why.
What do you mean by it's not on his platform?
It's not on his platform. It doesn't say anything on Agenda 47 about giving police officers immunity.
Well, yeah, I get your point, but does Kamala Harris' platform say she want to defund the police or turn America into a socialist country? People are going to hear what they hear and attribute it.
Sure, but their actions ultimately speak for it. And we know what he did with his actions for the 4 years that he was in office, and we know what her actions has been from her time, whether it was as a district attorney, a senator, and she was left to Bernie Sanders on how she voted most of the time.
I don't see any actions from Kamala Harris that suggest she want to defund the police. I haven't seen anything from her agreeing with that.
What do you mean? Her bail policy during all of 2020 that she advocated for? I mean...
what does that got to do with funding of the police?
Say it again?
What does that have to do with funding for police?
Well, who did she vote with more, moderate Democrats or a squad? What's her voting record? Because she voted far more with the squad than she did the moderate Democrats of her party.
I don't think the right recognizes moderate Democrats political. I think the right sees you as either a patriot or a far left. I don't think the right really even recognizes anybody as being a moderate Democrat.
I do.
Ooh.
And I think
Give me some names.
People in my circle that do. But I think what happens is the ones that are the loudest are the fringe elements of both political parties, and for whatever reason, that gets the people in the middle tossed into one of those piles, whether they belong there or not.
Give me some names that the right recognizes as a moderate Democrat.
What, as far as like, I would say probably if I had to name like senators, you guys got so few left.
Keep going.
I mean, Nancy Pelosi would be a moderate Democrat.
What? Nancy Pelosi?
She's a moderate, 100%. Look at how she's voted throughout her time in the Congress. She's 100% a moderate. She's a very liberal moderate, but she's a moderate nonetheless.
Out of all of the Democratic Party, I asked you for a moderate, and that's who you come up with. So if she's moderate, why does the right hate her more than just about the entire Democratic Party?
Because of some of the ways that she's governed. Everyone's, and it goes for both of them. Like, I can't stand Mitch McConnell. I wish he would shit the bed and stay there, like, completely. But the reason is because we watch. Like, if you've seen, like, when Barack Obama was in and he was trying to appoint, what's his name? The head of the Department of Justice.
Eric Hogan.
Merrick Garland.
Merrick Garland, yeah.
Yeah, when he was trying to appoint Merrick Garland to the Supreme Court and Mitch McConnell blocked him from being able to do that, that was wrong. That was within Barack Obama's power. And that's the same type of shit people see from the right with Nancy Pelosi. But the only difference between me and most people on the right is I don't have a problem calling a spade on both sides of the political aisle. And so, like what he did there in that case was wrong. Did people, were people happy ultimately that we didn't end up with a liberal on the Supreme Court? Yes. But was it the right thing to do? Absolutely not. It set the tone for what Trump would end up walking into, and then the pushback he would end up having to take as a result of the 8 years Barack Obama had to suffer that same treatment when he was in office.
And it's so likely, I got to move it on, but also if Trump loses, what Mitch McConnell did is likely going to result in the liberals packing the court. Because what he did, as you're admitting it was wrong, that's likely going to be an excuse for the liberals to do something to upset the traditional Supreme Court we've had, because that's exactly what Mitch McConnell did. I got to move it on to political. Appreciate you coming through.
Yeah, brother. Have a good day.
Anytime. And by the way, folks, when I say we go from left to Bernie Sanders to I'm having dinner with Q, the program's all about free speech. So you don't have to agree with anyone on this program. You're never going to be blocked, banned, or censored by the host. It's an open forum. We are MAGA friendly. We've always been that way since day one. We always will be. Nevertheless, liberals are welcome. Asking the question, Kamala Harris literally stole President Trump's campaign promise, a policy that he was going to allow service workers to keep their tips tax-free. So what we're asking is, does that change how you view Kamala? In other words, if one presidential candidate or one politician comes up with a policy that is favorable to most voters, is it wrong for the opposition to then start promising the same thing? Let's say, for instance, Kamala Harris was talking about taking homeless vets off the street and actually creating some form of housing that they'd get to live in for the rest of their life. And all of a sudden, the military, the veterans started favoring Kamala, and then Trump started promising the same thing. Would it be wrong to take her policy? That's what we're asking. Also, secondary topic, does crowd size matter? Real quick, Vice President Kamala Harris had a presidential rally in Romulus, Michigan, suburb outside of Detroit. And it was a huge crowd there. Based on the photos, based on the video. Trump is saying that crowd was artificial intelligence. It was not real. It was created. So whatever you see on her social media page, whatever you see on X, in the news, those folks are not actually there. What say you? Going to the comment section, I don't see a problem with adopting policies unless it's disingenuous. Fair point. I think this is Ryan. Kamala Harris is the greatest man alive. He cares for us, and we should vote for him. Harris 2024. Say it now. Personally, if I was in my makeshift studio, I'd put the picture up behind me. But I personally took a photo with Kamala Harris about 3-4 years ago. She's really attractive in real life. I'm a 6'6", 300-pound guy. She's really little. That ain't a man. If that's a man, listen, I'm on the other side then. That is not a man. You can try that, man. We can talk and joke about it on Michelle Obama, which I think is ridiculous too, but Kamala Harris does not have any female features about her whatsoever. That ain't gonna work. Going back to the box, and like I said, I met her, hugged her, got a photo with her and everything. That is not a man. Dinkel, but humorous indeed. Dinkel, good afternoon. Welcome to the program. She's gorgeous. Yeah, she's attractive, and I told her that when I was using my phone to take a picture. I said, "You look really good on camera." She didn't cackle. She smiled. She looks good. I'm not talking about politics, just visuals. She's 60 years old. She looks like that at 60. Dinkel, good afternoon.
Hey, what's going on?
Not much at all. Kamala stealing from Trump. What say you?
I don't understand the politics of saying that somebody adopting what they think is a good idea is actually bad. If it's going to help, if it's going to help a certain group of people, what you like anything your opponent, anything he proposes is off limits? No.
Well, but what it makes it look like, though, Dinkel, is that you're not savvy enough to create your own policies, that you got to steal from somebody else.
There are millions of different economic policy positions. To say that someone can't support something that somebody else said is ridiculous. And if I thought my party was going to be stuck in only being able to go so far in helping people and not be able to utilize other things that come into play that are new or fresh or different, then why would you pigeonhole yourself like that?
Dinkel, she's been vice president for 4 years. Why didn't you do it before? Why didn't you?
Because maybe she didn't think of it before.
Right, and guess who did think of it?
Okay, every policy position that's being talked about was thought about before or tried by somebody else.
Okay, so Trump for the win?
In that suggestion, if it ever comes to fruition, yeah.
But let me ask you, though, if you were running for office and somebody was biting all your promises to try to further their campaign, it wouldn't change your opinion of them at all?
That's a bad narrative to set. That the way you proposition that question, biting all your
fair enough. You got me. Fair enough. But biting one of your signature promises. And by the way, the Biden administration also changed their border promises to reflect what Trump has done. A lot of the things they were doing in the beginning, they went back to Trump's policies there.
Hey, well, they got their own, and they should be gaining voters then, because they're picking up positions that they hadn't in the past. And if they're going to help, which those positions on the border, when we seen it get bad, we know it would help the position. More border agents, more technology, more judges. We know that stuff is good for this particular situation. So, yeah, I'm for them because times change. Times change, and you have to adapt to what the situation is right now. You can't say, well, we never, we haven't supported that stuff, so we can't. So therefore, we have to always say we can't support it. Obama changed. He said he matured, or whatever he said about the LGBTQ community.
True.
Like, we have to be able to say eventually, like, okay, some of the things, but we're not going to take the whole party platform.
But let's say you are one of those service workers. You are a waitress in Vegas or somewhere where you work at a high end restaurant and you get large portion of your income is in tips. And Trump is the first one you hear promising to allow you to keep that without being tipped. And here comes Kamala promising the same thing after being in office for 4 years and not doing it. Is it possible you may think that Kamala's being disingenuous and only doing it because it's working so well for Trump?
I would think I would be in a dilemma, and I think I would be saying, whoever wins, I hope they do it. But
True.
I'm not just going to say, well, I don't want her to win because she said she was supported. So you would have, if you were if you're a one issue voter, you kind of stuck if that's your one issue.
Well, shit, then, Cal, if you work in a high end restaurant and most of your income is tips, that's probably going to be your one issue. I mean, keeping all that money tax free, that's probably going to be your one issue.
Right. So now, how do you decide who you're going to vote for if both of them are saying the same thing?
Maybe the person that originated it because it seems more sincere as opposed to the person that just following through.
I guess so. Maybe all of the people that make tips say, well, look, they don't want to vote for Kamala because Trump thought up the thing first. I don't think that's the case. I think a lot of the people in those situations, more of those people are probably attracted more to Kamala because of other things than just that, because that was never on their radar in the first place. Bro.
In fact, I agree with you more than I disagree. I think if you talk to the average person that would benefit from this tax-free tip policy, particularly the younger crowd, the waitresses and concierge and folks who are valet parking, most of them probably would have. The younger crowd favors the Democrats. That's usually how it works. But I think a lot of them might tell you, even though I favor the liberals, if I'm going to keep all my tips tax-free, I'm going to vote for Trump. But now that she's promising to do it too, she taking a whole tip scenario out of it, I was more likely to vote Democrat. But his tip offering was strong enough for me to look at my bottom line. But now that she's offering this too, I do believe it probably will end up helping her.
Right, especially with a lot of the young women in the service industry, because they can, just because it's female, that may intrigue some of them, and her having the same policy kind of crosses out his advantage in that particular industry. But it's not that. I don't think it's that big of a voter block, but I think in a real close election, it could make the difference.
Let me ask you this before I move it on. Stephen Scott on YouTube says, why in the hell would someone even vote Democrat? As someone who's leaning left yourself, Cal, the floor is yours.
Well, one thing is because I can recognize the size of a crowd when I use a picture and evidence, and I can listen to the man speak, and I can tell you that I can recognize like a lie when I hear it, especially when I have like visual and audio evidence. And so that's just one of the small things. But I think I'll stop right there with that particular person because that's not really a real argument.
Well, no, but it is a very common question. Why the hell would somebody vote Democrat? I get some people say the same thing about the Republican Party too, but why the hell would somebody vote Democrat? I hear it all the time.
Look, we can talk about policies and stuff all day, but what the question he should be asking is, why are people voting against Donald Trump? Not that people are voting for Democrats, because a lot of people that fall into the conservative category just cannot sit there and listen and stomach this man day in, day out, get up there and tell the same lies every day. They might even maybe the economy was better and maybe he'll be able to go and do it. But I mean, there's like a moral and theoretical ideas in people's heads that go beyond just saying we used to have better, economy. Like the country and the people are bigger. We're mostly just greedy people. I'll say that. But
damn right.
But there are a large part of people who have already made it. Their lives are secure, and they're voting on more than just that. They're voting, they're voting for, the impression that America is still that beautiful city on the hill, and that we should have trust in our leaders, and we should be able to have the moral superiority when it comes to these global issues and stuff. People vote for a lot more than just gas was a little bit cheaper.
Well said. Almost sound like a political speech there. You sure you ain't running for some shit?
No, but hey, I just want to add into that conversation about the whole thing was AI. The whole video of the plane and everything. They got one photo that the reflection doesn't look quite right, so they say everything. Now, keep in mind, this was tens of thousands of people at an airport in America with cameras and everything, and we got the real video of the plane.
I don't know what I just figured I'd bring it to the folks. Yeah, I think the evidence is insurmountable, but I wanted to hear the folks, so I figured I'd throw it out there.
So for that guy who asked me, just think about it, that this man that they're going to vote for is sitting at home right now, looking at TV or looking at people's texts and posts and stuff, and is worried about stuff like this and not about what he's going to do for the American people.
All right, then, Cal. Appreciate you coming through. And that is the question we're asking, folks. Tap the screen. I haven't solicited that. Tap the screen. Get the likes up to about 40,000. We can certainly make that happen if you let your thumbs not be lazy. Same on YouTube. Smash that like button. This is Uncensored Programming. Get the likes up to about 50. 50 with 2 D's. You can certainly do that on YouTube. I appreciate that. We don't block, ban, or censor anyone for their commentary. We go left of Bernie Sanders, so I'm having dinner with Q, and I don't have to agree with anybody in the comment section. You damn sure don't have to agree with the host. By the way, if you enjoy civilized dialogue from all sides of the aisle without the whole block, banning, and censorship, follow the program on TikTok, a subscription on YouTube, if you will. Feel free to subscribe to the program. Going back to the box, we'll continue on with Anthony, one of my subscribers. Good afternoon or good evening. I'm used to saying afternoon. Anthony, good evening. Welcome to the program. I guess I get that. Hey, so what do you think? Kamala taking President Trump's campaign promised that he would allow folks who live off tips, essentially, to keep them tax-free, and now Kamala's doing it.
Well, you know what? I really don't see a problem with that, because aren't they supposed to be working together when they get into the House and the Senate? So if you have great ideas on either side, aren't you supposed to meet in the middle somewhere? So if she thought that was a great idea, my only problem with it would be is if she said something negative about it before she presented it.
Yeah. And real quick in the comments on YouTube, Shelly Scott, you're hearing the audio from TikTok. So the folks calling in is calling in through TikTok. Shelly Scott, thank you for the super chat. So what about originality, Anthony? That Trump came up with it. She's in the White House for 4 years. Why couldn't she do that? Why couldn't she have come up with this?
I don't know. I can't tell you. I mean, I don't see anything wrong with it, but here's my thing on the whole tip issue. How do they know how much a server is making?
Well, in some cases, certainly when you go to a restaurant, you go to Olive Garden, you sit down, most people are paying with credit card. So it's a documented transaction.
It's tracked that way.
Yeah.
What about the people that decide only cash?
I believe in those type of positions, they attribute a certain amount. I mean, they know if you're doing this at the end of the year.
Has to report.
Yeah. Well, they know you're not making zero. I mean, if you do that job for a year and you put down, I didn't make anything in tips, they know that's a lot.
Yeah, so some of them are already making no tax on tips.
Yeah, but now under Trump, it's gonna be all of them.
Well, you know what? If it benefits them, it benefits them. But I don't see how it's gonna work. I wanna see a couple of things. One, how is she gonna implement it, or how would Trump implement it? How would it happen?
What do you mean how? Just remove that line from your tax report for them. If you work in this, if you work in specific industries, give you a certain
But
code.
how are they going to explain what's going to happen to the economy if they do that? I want to see that one being one of the questions that comes up on the debate.
Yeah, I'm sure
What
that.
happens after this happens?
Well, I'll tell you how Trump would answer it. I'm going to eliminate waste, get rid of some of these three-letter organizations where we're spending a fortune on. If we stop sending money to the Ukraine, there's some money right there. That's what I don't know what Kamala would say, but I can tell you what Trump would say.
But isn't the money to the Ukraine already in the budget? Isn't that already part of what's going on? Isn't that already in the budget?
We're sending them equipment that we could actually be selling to people. They're getting it free. That's money we could bring in to offset what you're talking about.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to see how it's going to happen. I don't see a positive for it.
I'd also submit to you, if Trump implements what he's promising, the largest deportation in history, think about how much money that's going to save. A lot of these folks are coming here and they're needing health care, they're needing to eat and things like that. That's all coming out of the taxpayers' coffer. So,
But aren't a lot of them already working and not paying not getting any refunds? They're getting taxed and no refunds.
yeah, but we don't know what the actual numbers are. We don't.
Yeah.
Are we to assume that there's more of them working and putting in than there are of them taking out?
Yeah. Could be. I don't know. I mean, I don't see how either Trump or Kamala is going to make this happen. They could be both promising something that they can't put out there for the people just to get the votes. But in all my life living in the United States, that's pretty much how every politician has done it.
So at the end of the day, make sure I'm getting clarity. So what you believe is the campaign promise coming from both Kamala and Trump, suggesting they will let service workers keep their tips tax free. You believe that's a lie, no matter which one of them get elected.
I'm not going to say it's a lie. I'm just saying they're saying it because it sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay.
It sounds really good.
It sounds good. So if somebody tells you you're going to get a double cheeseburger for $1, you're going to take that double cheeseburger for $1.
Okay. Well, I mean, they're both promising it. So let me ask you this also. The notion that Kamala Harris, the crowd that was there to see her, was generated by artificial intelligence. What say you?
Man, that's the craziest thing I've ever seen. I mean,
Well,
there are people actually out there putting AI generated photos to say that their photos is AI generated. I mean, how I've seen them put photos out there with people with like 3 or 4 eyes and calling that photo that she puts out. It's the most ridiculous thing. Why does crowd size matter anyway?
Well, folks believe it shows that people genuinely support you.
Yeah, but there's live videos of it anyway.
Yeah. Well, you do know Trump claims that he got more folks to come to Washington than Martin Luther King.
But well, Trump also claimed that he was on a helicopter with Willie Brown. So I mean, hey.
Well, I think the guy, I forgot who it is, but another guy came forward and admitted he was on the helicopter with Trump. And he said, I guess to Trump, we all look alike or something like that. But there was another individual that was on that helicopter and said he remembers it quite well.
Who said that? I don't think I've seen that one.
Yeah, somebody says Nate Holden or Jerry Brown. I don't know the guy's name, but I seen it earlier on the news. Yeah, somebody else, because when he was talking about it was Willie Brown, the guy that Kamala slept with. Apparently, what he talked about, at least a helicopter going down, is a real story.
Let's forget the crash. What about the conversation that he said that the guy had with him about her there's certain things that were wrong in the relationship. How did that?
That doesn't appear to be true.
Yeah. So I mean, whether it's the crash or the conversation, something is missing here.
Yeah, that doesn't appear to be true. So is it safe to assume that their conversation is likely that you'll be voting for Trump?
No.
I had to ask, what's so wrong with Trump? You've had 4 years of Biden. Do you think Biden's doing a good job?
Well, you know what? I've noticed that no matter what president takes office, there's good and bad with all of them. With Trump, I really didn't notice his mistakes until his last 2 years.
Mistakes how? Explain.
And I think that was because of COVID.
Okay.
Because before that, I think in my mind, my finances was the same. I was operating a lot. Yeah, maybe gas went up with Biden, but it was going to go up anyway because of COVID.
So you didn't see really any difference economically going from Trump to Biden?
No, I've in the United States in all my years, I got here when I was 19 from the Caribbean.
Oh, okay.
In all my years, I have never felt the pinch from any president because of how I make my adjustments. Because I know, I listen and I watch who's coming into office, what's going to go on, and I make my adjustments. People that still want to spend the kind of money that we're spending because Trump was in office, next thing you know, what happened when Barack was in office? Trump took over a great economy at that point, okay?
Yeah.
So 2 years in, he was still like coasting. The winds was still in his sails.
Okay.
The second 2 years, it started to go, the wind started to die down. Biden takes office after COVID, everything went up. I mean, everything starts to go up.
Is that Biden's fault?
I don't think it's Biden's fault because, I mean, okay, let's look at the farming industry. I mean, tariffs ate them up because of what Trump put in place.
Okay.
Okay. He gave them money to try to make it up, but they still couldn't survive. So who bought up all the small farms? The big guys. The big guys bought up the small farms. So now, instead of the competition out there, it's like when when all the cable companies are getting bought up. If you don't have competition, you're
talking about monopoly. You're talking about the power of monopoly. Let me ask you this though. Now you came from the Caribbean, you said?
Yes.
Now I can't see the picture of it. Are you a dark-skinned individual or are you okay? Have you noticed, because a lot of, well, first of all, coming from the Caribbean, were you an adult already?
I was 19 when I came to Georgia.
Are you in America? Do you consider yourself to be a black man?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
But you know what's funny? When I first came to the United States, when I left the Virgin Islands, I never thought of myself as I didn't experience racism. The day I got in a cab in Georgia, the guy asked me where I was going. The first thing he said to me is, why don't you people stay where you come from? That's the first thing he said to me.
The cab driver?
The cab driver.
Damn.
And I came from the U.S. Virgin Islands.
Why don't you people? How did you take that as a welcoming to this country? Or you're already part of the U.S., but as a welcoming to the mainland?
Oh, it was crazy. I got to my hotel. I called my mom and I said, "Hey, look, this is what the cab driver said to me." And she was like, "Oh no, that's not good." Yada yada yada. About maybe 2-3 days later, 4 days, maybe 5 days, I didn't call her for a while. Next thing you know, I hear a knock on my hotel room door, and I'm like, "Who the hell is this?" I opened the door. The cop was sitting at my door. You know what they said to me? What? They said, "Call your mom. She's been calling every police department in the area looking to make sure you're okay."
Damn. Well, I'm sure we got a. I'm sure our reputation. Yeah, our reputation proceeds us. Most countries around the world know our history, so our reputation proceeds. I got to move it on, Noah Anthony. Wow, that's crazy. Do you think? Did you see any change under the Trump administration or under the Biden administration? You're talking about racism. Did you see any changes in our society under Trump or Biden?
Well, I can't say yes or no because I don't put myself around people that would put me in that situation. If you can understand what I'm saying.
Right.
If I know you are a certain way, I stay away from you. I stay away from that area.
Yeah, but you can't stay away from everybody. Like you said, you interacted with the cab driver. You may go to the gas station. You can't stay away from everybody.
That's when I was 19. I don't need to get a cab ride anymore.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean you can't. You cannot. If the society is like a certain way, you're not going to be able to stay away from it because you interact with strangers all the time.
Yeah, but you could also feel there's looks, there's sounds, there's everything about people that you interact with that tells you who they are.
And you didn't notice any difference under the Biden administration or you didn't see any changes in America for either of these gentlemen being elected.
Well, when Trump was in office, I was in the oil field, so there was work and home. This was in Texas. This was when I worked in Texas, so there was not a lot of being around people that I didn't know. There was just people that I worked with, and a lot of the times the atmosphere and the work you have in the oil field, you're around a lot of people, Hispanics, whatever. It's mostly Hispanics, so you don't find yourself around people that's gonna put you in that situation. So I didn't feel the vibe of racism when Trump was in office because of my surroundings.
Right. Okay. All right. I gotta move it on, Anthony. Well talk. Good conversation. Come on back through anytime.
All right.
Appreciate it. And I wanted to respond to a comment somebody stated in regards to the Willie Brown thing. Trump, he just got the name wrong of the individual. Tap the screen, get the likes up to about 50,000. Get the likes up to about 50,000, folks. This is a weekend uncensored program. Same thing on YouTube. Smash that like button. Get us up to about 90. We can make that happen. The idea that Trump just got the name wrong. Well, if you get the name wrong, the whole validity of the story is in jeopardy. It's a big difference between being on a helicopter with Willie Brown, the one that actually slept with Kamala Harris, and hearing stories about Kamala Harris from him, than hearing it from some other dude that never slept with her, and meaning it's third party. So it's not just a matter of getting the name wrong. I mean, it's a whole different witness. It's a whole different person. And by the way, the other person stated that he didn't tell Trump anything like that either. So we'll just leave it at that. Somebody said dated her. Well, dated or whatever. Intimacy was part of their dating experience. How about that? He didn't mean what he said. So Jerry Brown was talking shit. No, Jerry Brown said he didn't tell Trump that either. Jerry Brown and Willie Brown said that Trump is not telling the truth. They both said it. And Jerry Brown stated he remembers that helicopter ride with Trump quite well. He acknowledged the helicopter ride. He just stated what Trump claims he said about Kamala was wrong. Didn't happen. So we'll leave it at that. I see the comments. Stardust says Trump is a pathological liar. Wow. The helicopter was never in distress. For me personally, before I go back to the box, that's an old ass story. It's going, 40 years almost? I'll tell you this. When Trump got elected president, folks were bringing up shit about his ex-wives, bringing up shit he said on television, lawsuits that he was involved in. The overwhelming response from MAGA was simple. I don't give a damn about what he did before he was president. I'm only concerned with while he's in office and the policies he's implementing. That's how MAGA was responding to stories about Trump trying to critique him when he was president. But all of a sudden, Biden gets in office and the crime bill of the 90s becomes something we bringing up. I don't want my children growing in a racial jungle and hanging around Senator Byrd suddenly became in play. And now with Kamala Harris, we're going back some 40 years. I just want to point out the difference because there were stories floating around about President Trump as well. MAGA just wouldn't entertain them. But the same folks who would not entertain old stories on Trump are slinging them like crazy on Biden and Kamala Harris. It's 40 years ago, folks. It's 40 years ago. I don't think anybody's going to vote for or against Kamala based on who she slept with. Would that have been in the 80s? In the 1980s? It's not going to work. Looking in the comments, why isn't Kamala taking questions from the press? It's a great question. Yeah! Wow, some support for the show, Miss Mo Better. Thank you very much for the hat and mustache. Appreciate that. Why isn't Kamala taking questions is a very good question. She should be. She absolutely should be. Let the public know what the hell you have in store for the American people. However, just giving you my example. And Kathleen, thank you for the shades, Kathleen. I'll tell you this. Imagine you're on a sailboat, but it has a motor. As long as the wind is blowing, why waste your fuel and turn on the motor? Kamala Harris is riding the wind right now. Without an interview, she's doing fairly well in the polls. Now, make no mistake about it, the right is chastising her for not having interviews. By the way, it's a legitimate gripe. But why do you think the right wants her to have an interview? Because they get to pick apart everything she says. They're running short on material. That's why we're hearing that she's not black. We're hearing about Willie Brown and all that. There's not enough material there. We can bring up the border. Outside of that, there's not enough material. So if she starts to speak, now you have something to work with. And if you're on Team Kamala, you're going to why would you say anything? You're doing all right. But that's why the right wants her to give an interview. Because now you can break down things and call her far left or whatever. And like I said, she should hold interviews. But I totally understand why she probably is trying to drag them out and delay them. All right, going back to the box. Why isn't Trump answering questions from the press? He's taking questions. He's just not answering them. That actually is funny. Yeah, shout out to Trump for taking questions. Now, yeah, his answers are all over the damn place, but at least he's willing to stand there. I mean, at the end of the day, everything I just stated that would happen to Kamala, Trump is brave enough to get out there, and it damn sure is happening to him. They're picking apart all of his answers. So, shout out to Trump. Trump gets the win on that. Why? She should be brave enough to stand there. Like Trump took an hour and 4 minutes worth of questions the other day. I do believe she should do interviews. But at the end of the day, I'm going to say that if I was her campaign advisor and I see her steadily growing in the polls, what do they say? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. She's doing well, keeping quiet. She will after the Democratic National Convention, says SGB72. Maybe. You remember how strong Trump's campaign was after the RNC, Hulk Hogan and all? I mean, it was a lot of love, a lot of confidence after the RNC. That undoubtedly will happen for the Democratic Party as well. We don't know what kind of entertainers are going to be there. I mean, it's going to be a live event. It wouldn't surprise me if she didn't take questions right after that either. Going back to the box, tap the screen. We'll try it again with Travel Man. Had a few audio issues earlier. Asking that question, does it make any difference if Kamala Harris is stealing a fairly popular campaign promise coming from Trump? Travelman, good afternoon, good evening.
Can you hear me this time?
Loud and clear.
All right. First of all, most people, I would venture to say that the taxes that are paid in cash I mean, the tip paid in cash are not being reported.
True.
That's just human nature.
True. That is true.
So the one that's being paid on the credit card, if you stop paying taxes on that, doesn't it also affect Social Security?
I don't know the inner workings of it.
It's a payroll tax.
Yeah.
It would be considered part of your payroll.
I mean, I'm not going to deny it. I'm going to say I'm not knowledgeable enough to answer the question.
Well, I'm just saying, if they taking taxes out of your pay, trips is part of your pay.
Okay.
So if they're taking that 6% out and the 6% for the employer, then that's going to affect Social Security. Every time they talk about doing something as far as payroll is concerned, it affects Social Security.
But what about, as Trump might state, we're going to get a lot of these illegals out of the country. That's costing us tax money. We're going to get rid of these three-letter organizations that are deep in government waste, and it'll make up the difference.
Okay, so let me ask you this. When they start, quote-unquote, deporting all these people out the country, what's going to happen to the economy?
Well, first of all, the jobs that they're holding, on the right. Now, I lean left on this a little bit, but on the right, they believe they're competing with folks for black jobs. So all of a sudden, the blacks will be employed and contributing to the system again. That's the belief.
Well, there's some validity to that, because they are spending the same tale that they've been spending for years. Black folks are lazy. We don't want to work. La-di-da. Meanwhile, we're building the country.
Well, I'll let you. Hold on. I'll let you continue, but I just want to interrupt and say this whole black folks are lazy thing, because you're right, it's common. I have to say, after 300-400 years of free labor, can we have a break? We're not lazy. We on break right now. Keep going.
Can we get a day off?
Right, we on break right now.
Because we were actually doing all those jobs beforehand. Okay. Now, what they're saying, that's a bunch of BS.
Right.
Because even when we are fully employed, quote unquote, you still had a certain number of people doing these jobs. When you try to deport that many people, the economy is going to crash. Okay, take a look at Florida. When DeSantis came up with those crazy laws about, the immigrants down there, the truckers said, we're not going back into Florida. They had crops rotting in the ground because the guys didn't have enough people to pick the crops.
I've heard that. I have heard that.
They needed 75, but they only had 30. Okay, there are ramifications. This stuff sounds good that Trump says, but most of what he says is a bunch of BS. I mean, we already know he's a pathological liar. We already know that.
Yeah, but you're saying it sounds good. Under Biden, most Americans believe the handling of the border has been horrible. They believe Trump was doing a better job. Is that BS?
That's a fallacy. I'm not going to say it's a fallacy, but let's take a look at this, though. When Trump came into office, illegal immigration was at a 50-year low. So illegal immigration increased under Trump. Legal immigration decreased.
I have never heard that. You're saying when Obama left office, Obama was a deporter in chief, so maybe. I've never heard that before.
Illegal immigration was at a 50-year low when Trump took office. Illegal immigration under Trump increased, but legal immigration decreased.
I don't know.
Okay.
It's hard to believe that under Trump, illegal immigration increased. Now I hear the part about Obama. We can talk about that, but under Trump, what did Trump do why would immigrants come here under the Trump administration? That doesn't make sense.
Remember when Trump, every time it got close to the election, he was start talking about the caravans and all of that. And then once the election was over, the people were still coming. He just wasn't talking about it. That's all. But we lost decreased legal immigration. So we lost H-1B people. We're losing engineers, graduating engineer students. We're losing the technical people to Canada, to Great Britain, to other countries. Because the H-1B visa, or whatever it is, the technical visa is, they lowered the numbers in.
I gotta look that up.
That's up with that.
You're the first person I've ever heard say that the amount of immigrants coming in this country was worse under Trump than Obama. I've never heard that before.
It was at a a 50-year low. I read it about 25 times. Okay, now I have to give full disclosure. Okay, I was a network engineer with Customs and Border Protection for 15 years.
Oh.
So I have been to every Border Patrol station and sector in the country because I was the senior engineer when they created CBP.
Yeah.
So
let me say
in El Paso.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not going to push back on the credentials. It just sounds weird to me. I will look it up. But let me say this. AKA Serenity makes a point. Says, that's true. I suppose referring to what you're saying. That's true. Refer to the government stats. Do you read, Tim? How do you prepare for your show? Well, this is the whole purpose of having uncensored dialogue. No one watching, including you, Serenity. No one knows every damn thing. That's why I believe in letting everybody speak. We all get to learn. Hopefully that answers your question. Keep going.
Now, what I believe, and this is why I think they blew it. They had the immigration bill, the border bill, right? That was the most strict, that was the most Republican border bill we have ever had. I can guarantee you that the only way we'll get a bill like that again is if the Democrats go along with it again.
Yeah.
But Trump shot that bill down.
Yeah.
And the Democrats should make the Republicans own that.
But they're going to ask, Travelman, Biden waited 3 years right before election to finally come up with this bipartisan bill. Why did he wait so damn long?
Actually, the bill was being negotiated for a while now. We're talking about the one with Langford.
Why did it take them so long to get it done?
Because they were negotiating.
3 years?
You know how they work. Now, I'm not gonna say it was 3 years. But you gotta remember, this bill was tanked earlier in the year. All right. Now I give you this. They blew it on the border.
Yeah, that's easy. Yeah, that sounds better because it sounds to me like Biden realized the border was hurting his re-election chances and then decided, well, let's go ahead and work out a border bill. I get your point that Trump should receive criticism for, if you're going to say the border is in emergency crisis, you don't leave it the same to hope, to help you get elected in a year. Because that's what they've essentially said is that, yeah, the border is in bad shape, but because it'll help Trump, leave it as bad off as it is for at least another year. Then apparently it ain't that bad.
That, once again, Trump killed that bill.
Yeah. Don't deny that. I don't deny that at all.
It was a problem under Trump. What happened to that wall he was supposed to build that Mexico was going to pay for? You know what I'm saying? Hold him responsible for it.
I think Biden actually got something like that done.
It was a lot of the wall. A lot of parts of the border already has a wall. They repaired some of it because it was built under W.
But is it safe to say that Trump was more effective on the border than Biden?
Not really.
Really? You don't think so?
Because what he did with Biden, what helped Trump was COVID-19. Okay. Now think about this though. When he started the stay in Mexico policy, which was before COVID-19, all he did was delay what was going to happen anyway.
Yeah, but even the wall would stop. I mean, I'm not saying the wall's going to be this no-all end-all. Hold on, it's not going to be a no-all end-all, but it would stop some of the immigration.
No.
Not one person. Wait, hold on. Not one person would be stopped by the wall.
I didn't say one person.
Then some.
We used to sit in the Border Patrol sector office in Laredo and watch the people climb the wall.
Mm-hmm.
And when they got on the other side, Border Patrol would be standing there waiting for them. They will find a way over that wall, under that wall, or around that wall.
Well, you don't put the wall there by itself, Trevor. Man, I'm talking about the wall plus some technology, sensors, and things like that. The wall.
Already down there.
Yeah, so you don't think the wall would be of any benefit at all?
I did not say that. I said it's not going to stop them. You already have sensors in the ground down there. You already have drones in the sky. You already got guys on ATVs. You got guys riding motorcycles. You got guys riding horses down there.
So you believe whatever the amount of folks that are coming in this country illegal right now is, if you built the wall, that number would still be the same. It would not be changed by a wall at all.
It wouldn't be that much of a difference. It wouldn't be that much.
What is your definition of not that much?
Maybe 10%.
That could be thousands of people.
It might be even less than that.
I don't know.
I mean, think about it. Think about it now. The people, they're getting away from a country they need to get away from. People are going to come. Until we change, until something, take Venezuela. We didn't have a lot of Venezuelans coming into the country 10, 15 years ago. This is a recent phenomenon.
I'm not disagreeing with any of that. Where you and I have an issue on is your suggestion that the wall will make virtually no. Every country that wants to secure its border, they start by using a wall. They actually do it. I mean, now we know it didn't work on October 7th, but it had been working for Israel.
That's a much smaller area. You got areas of the border where you can't do a wall.
Okay, then we can talk about that. But that it's also very rough terrain in those areas.
Yeah, they'll find a way around it.
All right.
I'm just not. Like I say, I've seen people climb the wall, so I'm not a big fan of it. I think it's a waste of money. That's just my personal opinion.
All right. Fair enough. I got to move it on. Go ahead.
What were you saying about Kamala? Oh, everybody keep talking about why she didn't do this, why she didn't do that when she was the vice president. She couldn't pass it. She couldn't sign anything.
You get no argument from me. You get no argument from me. The vice president. The vice president doesn't go around passing legislation.
Exactly. You have to support the president. So that whatever his legislation is, that's what you support.
Yeah.
Now once she get in there, she has the option to do that.
Yeah.
If it came from Trump, so what? If it helps people,
he
only want to do it if it helps his MAGA people. He don't really give a damn about anybody else. But I mean, that's been proven. That's been proven.
Bro, you said it. Wait, hold on. We are two African Americans, and Trump has stated he's done more for us than anybody since Abraham Lincoln.
That's why he need to take a big X-lax.
I gotta go. All right, I appreciate it. All right, y'all. Oh my God. Take a big X-lax. Wow. Travelman, thank you for the comment. Do you believe Trump's campaign rallies have more people in attendance than Dr. Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech like he claimed? No, I do not. No, I don't. In fact, I don't know what would be the purpose of bringing that up. This is where, now, we often suggest that Biden in particular, can't read without a teleprompter, but some folks even suggest that Kamala Harris's speeches are on a teleprompter. Somebody writes her speeches for her as well. Suggesting that you have more people at your rallies than Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech is so narcissistic and conceited. I'd suggest that Trump needs to have somebody write his speeches. I would assume anyone would have told him, sir, you're not going to gain anything by saying this. You can only lose. There is nothing to gain by going up there and saying you have more folks coming to your rally than Martin Luther. The only thing you can do is piss people off. That's not going to attract you a single voter. This is where you do need maybe a speechwriter or an editor or somebody. Here, read this shit. This is what I'm going to say tonight. Here, check this out. What do you think? Critique it. That's where he should have done. Because that's just giving folks ammunition. A lot of African Americans are going to point that out. A lot of black folks are not happy about that. It just didn't have to be said. There's no benefit to saying it. So, no, and I don't believe it. Nobody is stopping what's coming. Get ready, liberal, says Jay Rich. What is coming? Nobody is stopping what's coming. By the way, by way of poll, somebody in the comments, super chat asked me in regards to a poll, Trump or Kamala? Type it in the comment. Trump or Kamala? Who are you leaning towards? Trump or Kamala? Kind of an impromptu poll. Says another Q point. Well, thank you for the hat and mustache alter ego. Yeah, appreciate that. Bet it will get stopped. I don't think the threats is a good idea. I see a lot of folks are saying Trump. Trump ain't no leaning. All right, so you straight up Trump. Now my YouTube audience is predominantly Trump. Looks like Mickey Mouse says Shady Grady. So that's basically a big ass neither, huh? Well, the problem is nobody is honest about how many people show up at his rallies, and Trump saying that will make people look that up. Has a ton of people showing up that love him, man. It ain't. I'm gonna tell you right off the bat. First of all, getting things correct on how many people actually attended a rally, it ain't worth throwing out there that you got more people at your rally than Martin Luther King. I mean, you basically are saying I've brought more people to Washington than anybody else. And by the way, Trump's biggest speech in D.C., where he's alleging he had more people than Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech, was January 6th. So obviously it's going to lead people to contrast. Look what happened when Martin Luther King gave the I Have a Dream speech, and look what happened on January 6th. Because that's the audience that he spoke in front of that was so huge like that. I mean, why would you deliberately remind people of that? This is where you have a lot of folks on the right suggesting I love Trump's policies. I favor Trump all day over the liberals, but I wish he would stop rehashing the past. Why would you bring that up? And not to mention he's been questioned recently, making it clear he'll pardon the folks on January 6th. You know, as Nike would say, just do it. If you believe that the folks on January 6th were wrongfully charged and you're planning on getting elected and reevaluating their cases or just letting them out, you're not gaining any political capital by telling folks that. Just do it. Just win the office and then do it. But promising it ahead of time, I have a guy on the program regularly that, Pennsylvania, by the way, swing state trooper, states that he loves Trump and his policies, but he said as a police officer, I can't vote for somebody that views crime this way. That's a felon himself. And that's a Trump supporter. Why would you tell folks ahead of time you're going to pardon them? I don't see the benefit to it. Hell, even Biden is smart enough not to tell you that he's going to pardon his son. He damn sure is going to pardon his kid. If you believe that he's not going to do that, you're crazy. Miss Mo Better, good afternoon. Welcome. Good evening, rather. Welcome to the program. I'm curious, do you admire RFK Jr.'s passion and leadership? I haven't seen anything about RFK that I admire. Miss Mo Better, good evening.
Yeah, no, he has a terrible voice anyway. Nobody want to hear that shit. Nobody wants to hear his voice.
You can't bang the man for his voice. Come on now.
Yeah, I know, but I don't want to support it either.
Okay. I mean, Mike Tyson has a very squeaky voice, but he's still knocking out people.
He's a weirdo too.
All right. So what do you think? Kamala's talking about ending tips. Some she stole from Trump. What say you?
Yeah, that's all they do. That's all politicians know how to do is steal. But anyway, if she could take it and make it better, then he had 4 years in office and he didn't do anything about it then. Yeah. Why all of a sudden now it'll work better for Kamala simply because of the demographic of people that vote for her are more likely to be waitresses and hostesses and stuff like that. Trump likes people who got money, top dollar, 1% and better. You know what I mean? So, of course, he's going to tell MAGA anything that they listen to, he going to say it to them so he can get the vote. Trump cares about money and power. That's what makes him such a bigot that I always call him.
What about Trump? Because like I said, Trump is doing better with the black vote than any Republican nominee in our lifetime. I'm talking about McCain, Romney, Bush Senior. Why do you suggest?
Still only 20 people. Listen, I'm black and I'm not supporting him.
Why do you say he's a bigot though?
He is a bigot. Because he doesn't care about people. He has poor moral, and if you sit down and listen to almost every interview or anything he's done, rally or whatever, all he does is shoot at people verbally. Yeah. He tries to demoralize people. Did you hear what he said about Chris Christie the other day? Oh, you can't call people fat, but you see his like stuff like that. Who wants that representing them?
Yeah, I don't. Some folks, but folks are going to say You should vote based on policy. Don't vote based on your feelings or emotion.
He ain't talking about policy. He might have talked about one policy and that's the one that Kamala just stole from him. Anything else, I'm not hearing nothing from him. All you hear about, calling, what's the media? Oh, she's a bad person. But why? Because she's not licking your tail. Man, go somewhere. Go cry in the car. How about that?
Damn. I mean, but folks are going to suggest that the economy and they were doing much better under Trump. We didn't have, wars going on. Folks suggested the country, if not the world, was a better place under Trump.
What? Shit outside was closed, Tim. COVID had people. Outside was closed.
Yeah.
And but the ones that weren't outside, they were passing away. Look how many people were unalived. I want you TikTok language. How many people have unalived during COVID? Those numbers are not lying. They're not fabricated lying numbers. Like I said, I had people lost 5 members in my own family alone.
Do you blame any of that on Trump?
Yes, I blame a lot. All of it, no, but a lot of it, yes. He didn't start it, but he had the blueprint to help shut it down, and he refused to do it because it was coming from Obama. Now, people talk about hate and stuff like that. He had probably some of the biggest hate for Obama than anybody that I've ever experienced. And again, you can listen to, he still talks about Obama. And
well,
Obama's
a lot of
not
folks on the
Obama
right, yeah, because a lot of folks on the right believe that Obama's the one behind the scenes running things. That's why they're saying.
Of course they do, because you know why? That's the impact Obama had. All right, and if y'all feel that that means he didn't do such bad. He got 2 terms. He wasn't doing so bad as a president if he got 2 terms. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
He was reelected. Well,
they believe that Trump was reelected too, but it was stolen from him.
Of course, because Trump said it. He was saying that before the election even came, that, the election was stolen. But like I said, to support somebody like him, every time there's a rally or something with his name on it, somebody dies.
Damn.
January,
well, wait, what the hell does that mean?
Let me.
Okay.
January 6th, somebody died.
Yeah.
His last Pennsylvania rally, somebody died. Charlottesville, somebody dies. Like all of this stuff, that's a whole black spirit that he's carrying.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. A black spirit?
Yeah, he has a very dark spirit. I'm gonna take away the name of I'm gonna take away black and say dark.
Wow. I've never heard of the evangelicals, folks who believe in the gospels that are religious. I think it gets like 80 to 90% of the evangelical vote.
That's the Christian nationalists. Listen, I did not tell you to go watch the Bad Faith.
Yeah, you did mention that.
Listen, that's going to explain to you why that's why when he went and spoke to those Christians, he was like, well, you guys don't have to vote anymore. We have enough. I have security. I got enough votes. I got enough. You go watch that and it'll explain why he said that.
So you do at the end of the day believe that he's trying to fundamentally change our system, stay in power forever or something like that?
Absolutely. That's what I told you, he cares about money and power. Money and power is his whole thing. You see, even when he was president, he went over there to, I think it was England somewhere. He pushed the people out of the way so he could stand in the front.
Yeah, that's a popular meme. I've seen that many times.
Yeah, let me tell you, it's terrible because that's how he really feels. You know what I mean? It's not an act for him. That's how he really feels, and that's dangerous. But that's because you'll throw anybody under the bus to get that power.
Wow. But some folks believe that having Trump in power puts folks overseas, other countries, they don't want to really mess with us because they know Trump is a cowboy.
Hey, that is not true. That they're laughing at him. They want him there because they know if they say the right thing to him, they're gonna get their way. That's why these wars that's why that Ukraine and stuff is going on now, because they got that. Now we have to bully my way in. If Trump was there, he would have given it our way. We would have had our way.
Trump
now we gotta bully our way.
Not only did Trump say recently that if he was in power, the Ukraine-Russia war would not have happened. He also said October 7th wouldn't have took place.
Yeah, because then it would have been with the Saudis and somebody else. The Saudis is his peoples.
You said the Saudis, they his peoples. What makes you say that?
They his peoples. Those his people. He got Trump Towers and everything over there with the Saudis. See, that's what he wants to have their status. That's what he's in search of status.
But Trump bombed Saudi Arabia when he was president.
Listen, but there were no wars though. Under Trump.
That's a good comeback. That's
okay,
a good comeback.
My point exactly. We don't even need to talk about that anymore. Right. So listen, the more he talks, and he talking about was AI generated and all. If you're jealous, just say you're jealous, because that's all I see coming out of him.
So you believe that Trump may be jealous of the popularity that's surrounding Kamala Harris?
He's absolutely jealous of the population, and he's jealous of her, period. Because he, in his eyes, you see how he is to women. He feels that women are beneath him. He can grab them by the pussy.
Wait. What makes you think that? What has Trump ever did to make you suggest that he believes women are beneath him?
How he treat his pageants. He said he can walk in there on them at any time. Look at all the lawsuits and stuff he got for violating women. Look at how many times his name is on the Epstein files. That has to do with your thought of women. You've been married 3 times, bro. Like, come on. He's been married 3 times and you cheated on your wives. Damn. Now you got a male or a wife that don't even want to be in your presence.
Jesus. All right, Miss Mobetta, you depressed me for the day.
Yeah, listen, he talk about it. He would date his own daughter. Like, how could your loins be satisfied for your own child? Like, that's disgusting. He's a gross man, period, in my opinion.
I'll leave it alone. Miss Mobetta, appreciate you coming through.
Indeed.
All right, wow. Like I said, folks, we don't block, ban, or censor. Left of Bernie Sanders to I'm having dinner with Q. We let everybody speak. You're not going to favor all the opinions you hear. Some you'll like, some you'll hate. That's how the program is ran. You don't even have to agree with the host. That's how we do it. Tap the screen, get the likes up to about 70,000. Haven't solicited that in a minute. Slow program, slow. Certainly I appreciate you folks that are tapping the screen. Same on YouTube. Get the likes up to about 150. Big numbers in there. By the way, I see in the comments, Trey Bay. Real quick, if look, doesn't matter who you agree with, who you disagree with. I don't believe in censorship. So you can state your point. However, add something to it. Now, Trey Bay put in the comments just a bunch of clown emojis. That don't say shit. You got a whole damn paragraph. It can be critical. That's how free speech is. But what you're typing makes you look like the emojis you posted in there. You got the freedom to type without censorship. Damn it, put something in there with some substance. Looking in the comments though, Israel and the Zionists are the real problem. Diddy too. You're putting Puff Daddy and the Zionists in the same. Really? Tibby got like, really? I hate the media for not calling out Kamala on plagiarism. Evelyn, I do believe that there's certain media outlets that are going to favor one side or the other. I do believe that when Melania Trump plagiarized Michelle Obama's speech, the right didn't call her out on that. I mean, I agree with you. The media can be biased, but it does work both ways. Melania Trump clearly plagiarized Michelle Obama, and the right did not call her out on that. So now you're saying that Kamala Harris is guilty of plagiarism. All right, fair enough. Look, somebody said the whole speech was better. Exactly, they're hypocrites. I just said I believe in trying to call a spade, you know, call balls and strikes no matter who's pitching, but both sides of the media does it. Both sides of the media call folks out. Like, for instance, I'll give you a good example before I go back to the box. And I appreciate you folks tapping the screen. Maybe we can get up to about 80,000 in the likes. Appreciate that. Right now, you're hearing all about Governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz, lying about some of his military accomplishments. Now, he's stating he was at one rank. I don't remember what the rank is, but he apparently had to take one lower rank when he retired for benefits purposes. So they demoted him down one rank, but he's still going around saying he was the rank he was before he retired. But he officially retired at a lower rank than what he's telling you. Also suggesting that he had to carry a rifle in war when he was never deployed to a war zone. So he's, as folks would say, embellishing. These are alternative facts. But here's the hypocrisy. We know that Trump does this stuff. I'm not giving Tim Walz an out in any way, fashion, or form. I've said this numerous times. If Tim Walz was running against someone like squeaky clean Mike Pence, we'd have a conversation on our hands. But we often joke about Trump's exaggerations all the time. So if Tim Walz exaggerated some of his military credentials, I mean, Trump said in the middle of a pandemic, I know more about COVID than anyone. People were dying when he said that. And nobody held him accountable. I mean, that's clearly false. That is 100% false. So at the end of the day, I don't favor what Governor Tim Walz did, but I'm going to say that it will likely benefit him that he's running against someone like Trump, because you're going to hold Tim accountable for not telling the 100% truth, and his opposition is Trump. So I think Tim Walz will benefit from that. Looking in the comments, that was not the entire statement. Well, I think you get the point, Princess Gigi. Trump 2024, J.D. Vance 28 in 2031. There is no election going to take place nationally in 2031. I think you got to get your math straight there. Trump would turn this country around and make America great again, says Funny Fanboy. Well, we'll see in about 85 days or so, 85, 86 days, but who's counting? When Trump federalizes digital ID and federalizes the police, I hope you realize you've been played, says Jason Miller. Well, with him promising to give the police immunity from prosecution, if he federalizes them, I got to say, I feel fucked. Hopefully that's not true. Going back to the box, $2,600 in new taxes for the middle class if Trump gets in. Based on what? How do you know that? They will retire you at the highest rank held, said Jody. Well, I'm under the impression that Governor Tim Walz, the rank he is telling folks that he had, he retired at one rank below that. That's what I'm hearing. Maybe that's wrong then. We'll leave it at that. Continuing on with the program, Denise Harris. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program, Denise. Asking that question, Kamala is essentially taking the same promise of President Trump. Are you holding her accountable? The box may be problem. We'll give it a second here. Project 2025 promises to destroy our country. Read up. I am very aware of that. I think most folks on the left are now aware of Project 2025. It is a frightening proposition, but Trump is claiming he doesn't have anything to do with it. I'll leave it up to you how you feel about that. But Trump is claiming he has nothing to do with Project 2025. While the box resets for the next caller, I'll just say this. Once again, like I said, if you're advising Trump, he should be out there really going apeshit on the creators of Project 2025. His name is all over it. It's written by people who used to work for him. Just simply saying, I ain't got nothing to do with it. Oh, well, people ain't buying that. I'm just going to tell you, right? People are not buying that. There's too many links to you on this. We talking about Kamala Harris not taking questions. Fair enough. Trump's answer on Project 2025 is not sufficient. We know how Trump feels when an athlete takes a knee, or how he feels when a transgender woman plays for a female team, when statues come. We know Trump can get pissed off. His answer on Project 2025 is lacking, for lack of a better term, pistivity. Making up words here. He should be pissed off. I mean, that is hurting him badly. And why I got nothing to do? No, I don't think anybody believes that. I think he really needs to get certainly more, his explanations need to be more in depth. People are not believing that he doesn't have anything to do with Project 2025. Because some of it has already became the way, it's already became legal. So yeah, and the I did it, well, no, people aren't buying it. Written by disgruntled ex-employees, enough said. Princess Gigi, nobody's buying that. Maybe Trump needs to come out and tell you that them folks are disgruntled. You shouldn't have to make up defenses for him. If Project 2025 was written by former members of the Trump administration, and they're all disgruntled, as you're saying, then Trump should be telling people that. Trump should be telling people these people are garbage, they're no good. By the way, those folks and their connection to the Heritage Foundation, Trump is on very good terms with the Heritage Foundation. He's on video raising money for them and things like that. The idea that them folks are disgruntled, that doesn't fit what you're saying. It just doesn't. I mean, if they're disgruntled ex-employees and they're working in cahoots with the Heritage Foundation, then Trump should want nothing to do with the Heritage Foundation. And that's not happening. By the way, J.D. Vance, Mike Pence, they all got lengthy ties to the Heritage Foundation. People ain't buying it. I'm going to tell you at the bat. That is simply saying I ain't got nothing to do with it. It's not working. He needs to get out there and be far more aggressive than just saying that. People are not buying that. The rank he said he had was for commander with overseas deployment, and he got out to dodge that and left the guys under his commander. Well, we can talk about the rank. I don't think people are going to hold him accountable to any significant degree in regards to his retirement right before combat. Because you got members that served with him that stated when he retired, we were not told we were going to be deployed. You got folks that served with him that stated that those deployment orders come, literally out of the blue. And when he retired, we didn't know that was going to happen. So the idea that he just deliberately retired to dodge a deployment, you got members that served with him that's disagreeing with that. And by the way, look, you sign up, I don't have any military service. I appreciate any of you folks that went out and, operated for our freedom, did what you had to do on behalf of this country. The hell I look like telling you after 24 years of serving, when I've done nothing, that you should stay in and go to combat. That's not my place to do that. He gave 24 years of his life to the military. And now we're going to criticize him because he didn't go for 25 in the combat zone in his 40s. I can't be that selfish. Now, it'd be different if maybe I had 25 years or some shit. I might feel like I could be part of that conversation. I have no right to be part of that conversation. He did 24 years of his life in there. I'm going to tell him to do 25? No. Looking in the comments, he was the rank of CSM. He was the grade E8. The NG often feels lower grade. Now, you got to be, because you're using all kinds of acronyms. The NG often fills lower grades into the higher ranks to fill slots mandated by legislation. He held the rank he claims for 14 months before he retired. Okay, but is he officially retired at that rank? Or did he hold it for 14 months, retired as a lower rank? That's what I'm under the impression, that he retired at. Look, at the end of the day, I don't think this matters. I really don't. I mean, look, if you want to hold him accountable for not being spot on accurate, we can discuss it. But like I keep saying, his opposition is Trump. Nobody is holding Trump accountable for not being spot on accurate about anything. Mike Pence, very squeaky clean. If Mike Pence was running against Tim Walz, we might have a conversation. But Trump, folks readily admit he exaggerates. Look, he's telling a joke. You're taking him out of context. But Tim Walz has to be spot on accurate? That ain't going to work. Going back to the box, that's just not going to work. Furback, good evening, rather. Welcome to the program. Takesha. Hey, good evening.
How you doing, friend?
I'm doing good. Good to have you on. Talking about Kamala Harris taking Trump's promise. Trump stated that he would allow folks who collect tips to keep the money tax-free, and now Kamala's doing the same thing. Do you hold that against her? She ain't the original creator of this. Clearly stole it from President Trump.
If she had thought it was a good idea, she should have kept it to herself until she got in office and then did it. I would have never made it seem like I took an idea from another candidate.
Yeah. So do you?
That's my problem with her. Steal all you want to, but just don't reveal your theft until you get in office and you do what you stole from the other person.
I said the same thing about Trump promising to pardon the January 6th protesters. Don't promise. Just do it when you get in office. Wait till you get in office.
Well, he's not going to get in, so they'll still be there. But listen, handsome, let me say this about what's his face that was on the jet with Trump?
Willie Brown or the other, I don't know what.
You know, Willie Brown was not on there.
Right.
Stop playing. Now you made a statement of what the man said, but did you read his entire statement?
I saw the interview. Well, are you talking about Willie Brown or the other guy?
I ain't talking about Willie Brown. I'm talking about the other black man, the black man that was really on there.
I didn't read 100%. I saw him say that he was on there and he remembers the helicopter issue quite well, but he never told Trump.
Okay, but this is what he said. The helicopter was not about to crash. He said there was a problem with it and they had to land somewhere else. He said the only person on that helicopter that was scared like they were finna crash was Donald Trump. And he said after they landed, Trump looked at him and said, "Ooh, you almost turned white." And that man was confused because wasn't nobody acting no fool but Donald Trump. I said that man probably went through about 5 diapers from the time they left the air to the time they hit the ground. Trump thought his name was Jack and that man's name was Rose. He thought he was going down like the Titanic. And all them folks had to do was land in a different place. I was embarrassed after I heard that man say all that. Now Donald Trump got to stop. Just like he stood up in that press conference and told them folks when they asked him about his ill, because that's the only question he answered. They asked Trump 15 questions. Trump skated around there and danced around them questions like his name was Fred Astaire. He ain't answered a question yet. But he said, I'm a quick healer. I'm a fast healer. Yeah, my ear is almost back. Ain't nothing on your ear.
So wait a minute.
So now you got a miracle ear.
Isn't that a device, the miracle ear?
And evidently he got one on his face. Because ain't no way that ear ought to be healed that fast. I fell the other week and I still got them scars. So stop it, okay? From cement.
You know, I had somebody tell me that yesterday. Somebody who retired from the National Guard, and I was talking to him in person, and he said the same thing. He's like, because I said Trump got shot in the ear. You know, he said, did he? Did he really? And he said, you know, these are the weapons we used in the military. Well, the military version of the AR. And he was like, there's no way in hell his ear would look like that if he got grazed by one of these rounds.
That's why I say, one of the biggest reasons I don't like Trump is because he is a narcissist. If you notice, handsome, and I know Mac gonna act like they don't hear this, everything he had the greatest in. I had the biggest crowds. Nobody's ever had a crowd bigger than me. Yeah. You know, then you went on and want to take they need to wake him up because evidently he had a dream where he thought his crowd was bigger than Martin Luther King. So wake him up because he dreaming. He never had that big of a crowd, you know, at one of his just tell the truth. Stop over exaggerating. Now you're making lies to my Kamala pictures was AI. Trump, stop.
Yeah. Well, that's what I said earlier. If Trump was running, if Tim Walz was running against somebody that was squeaky clean like Mike Pence, he might. But Trump, like you said, Trump embellishes. Even MAGA admits, you know, Trump, you know, best and brightest. I know more. So, like I said, based on that, you can't really hold Tim Walz for maybe overstating something because Trump does it all the time.
He lies. That's all he does. He lies. Poor Willie Brown couldn't even enjoy his dinner. They done found a man at a diner and told that man, Trump said you went down like the Titanic. He said, what? You know, because you want to say that somebody told you something bad about that woman. Stop making up stuff.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but like I mentioned before, MAGA don't give a damn about anything that, you know, was negative to Trump from 40 years ago. I don't know why they keep bringing that up. I mean, go ahead.
And let me say this about the black thing. It's mighty strange that she went from Biden picked a black woman for vice president till we got this Indian woman that ain't black running for president. She was black when Biden picked her, but now she ain't black.
Yeah.
Come on, handsome.
I don't have anything to say about that. There's no way in hell Kamala Harris in the United States would be viewed as anything other than black. Why they do that, I don't know.
I guess that's the change Trump talking about. She was black when when they complained about Biden, you gonna hire somebody. You say you gonna get somebody black. You got Kamala, she was black. When Biden got her, she was black. And then she changed now. She Indian, So we gotta find something else to change her back to black. Because they play too much on that side.
All right. And I can't disagree with you. To me, she is as black as I am. Yes, she's light skinned, but she's a black woman. All right,
the police pull over, they ain't gonna say you're a nice Caucasian Indian woman. They gonna say get your black ass out this car. That's what they gonna say.
I gotta go.
And I'm gonna be done. I got one more thing to say. They love to talk about how Trump was so tough on Putin, but didn't Putin take Willing under Trump's administration?
Didn't he take what?
The man that we just got back. You
talking about Whelan, George Whelan?
Trump administration.
I believe so, George Whelan.
If he was scared of Trump, you thought he would have took anybody under Trump's administration? Did Trump say that Putin wasn't gonna let that man out for nobody but him?
Yeah.
Okay, didn't he let him out?
All right. You got me. You got me. I can't hate on that.
All right, handsome.
All right, appreciate it, Takesha. You drive a hard bargain. You always drive a hard bargain. That is Takesha. Looking in the comments, somebody says you're correct. And I see in the comments, Thurston Cheek says, she's not black. She don't scratch her hair. Stop the cap. What? I haven't scratched my damn head one time since we've been talking. Not that I have any hair, but what? That's how you judge who's black? If they scratched it, what the fuck? Let me just say this in regards to whether Kamala is black, white, or whatever the hell you want to call her. Go back to the 1950s in this country when they had separate water fountains. You couldn't go in a certain restaurant. What water fountain would Kamala Harris be drinking from? You think they would let her sit in the front and keep Rosa Parks in the back? She would be black. There's no damn way in hell anybody in the 1950s, out of this country's 250-year history, I think only now would you have somebody suggest that she's not black. The rest of those 200 plus years, she would be as black as I am. So yeah, and I see in the comments somebody put in the one drop rule. Yeah, I mean, the way this country has always been about, othering or separating people, why does it change now? In America, you're either one of four categories. Well, maybe five. I say five because the Native Americans certainly count. You're one of five. Doesn't matter where your parents were born. If you are born in America, you are either white, black, Hispanic, or Asian. That's it. If your mom was born in China, but she came here and had birth to you, you're an Asian American. That's it. You're Asian, and if your mom came from, any darker country, Mongolia somewhere, and she had you here, you're African American. I mean, that's the way the country's always been. She come from south of the border, you're Hispanic. You're either white, black, Hispanic, or Asian, or Native American. Nobody calls each other by countries. Most white Americans in this country have other nations as part of their ancestry. If your mom if your mom was German or French, and she came to this country and had you and gave birth, nobody walks around calling you German or French. You're American. You're white American. So I don't know how Kamala Harris is getting all these wild distinctions, because everybody else is going to be called white, black, Hispanic, or Asian. But all of a sudden with Kamala, she just gets to change. Okay, I don't know where that comes from. Looking in the comments, who even cares what her nationality is? It's a boring conversation. Well, it's the right that kept bringing it up. Yep. It's the right that's bringing that up. She's a black woman. Nobody calls you what your mom's country of origin was. It's never been done like that. Now, you can celebrate what your parents' country of origin is, but in America, you are Hispanic, Asian, black, or white, or Native American. That's it. That's all you get. Let me go back to the box. My husband is a pure Italian, but he calls himself an American. Yeah, and he would likely be, if your husband, as an Italian, let's say he went out and committed a major felony and he was on the run from the law. They'd probably put down white. I doubt if they would put Italian down there. They would put down he's a white guy. They would put down that Kamala Harris was a black person. They're not going to put down Jamaican and Indian. Nobody's going to call her that. Looking in the comment, Trump is very upset over Kamala's crowd size. It does appear that he's making a big fuss about it. Going back to the box, one of my subscribers there, David is cool. Good evening, David. Welcome to the program. The left sells lies, but people are so blind. Well, I think the idea that the left sells lies, Braden, you're correct, but the right sells them too. We're not in a nation where all 100% of the lying is coming from the left, and the right is just telling you the truth. Yeah, both sides tell lies. We can debate who tells more, but there's no denying that both sides tell lies. She is not African American. She's a Black American. And by the way, the idea that she's not African American is not true either. Jamaicans are part of the African slave trade. The black folks in Jamaica are part of the African slave trade. They had slavery there too. The only difference between blacks in America and blacks in Jamaica is that some of the slaves coming from Africa came here and some went to Jamaica. If Jamaicans ran an ancestry, ancestry.com or whatever, if they would come from the same places a lot of African Americans do. It's the same stuff. So yeah, you don't get to, I don't know why people think it's separate like that. Okay, are you there? Okay, I don't know what just happened, but my caller is there, but I don't see anything on the screen. I may have to reset the TikTok live. Let's see what's happening here.
Hello?
Yeah, can you hear me? Okay, I'm going to have to reset the live. Real quick, looking on YouTube briefly, I wish she would try stealing his appearance in Butler, Pennsylvania. I'm going to assume you're suggesting you want what almost happened to Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania to happen to Kamala Harris. Wow. I'm assuming, maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong, but you just stated you want her to steal his appearance in Butler, Pennsylvania. Tom McLaughlin. All right. I'm so sick of the race baiting in our media. Everything both sides do is to divide us. Ronald Lent, that's the American way. It ain't like the race baiting in America just started today or started 10 years ago. I mean, there is no point in U.S. history where race baiting was not the way of America. This country has always been about race baiting. Jamaica is British rule that was mixed Asian and Indian. Nobody's breaking it down, all of that, though. Nobody's going to... You either white, black, Hispanic, or Native American. Or Asian. Nobody's breaking it down, all of that. I'm a black person, but you came from here. I don't know why that's happening with Kamala. I mean, when I ran my Ancestry.com kit, I had like 20 different countries in there. In America, I'm a black man. Nobody gives a damn about all of that. Don't matter what color we are. No matter what color we are, people, we are just deaf, don't see color. Don't quite get that, Braden. Nice baiting. It should never have been that way. Yeah, it shouldn't have. It came from the Trump side of the aisle. What, in my opinion, what Trump should have simply done, anytime somebody asked him about the race or heritage of Kamala Harris, I'm here to discuss policies. My hat says make America great again. That is what I'm focused on. I believe I have a better direction for America than the failed Biden administration. Just deflect. Don't get it. The conversation is not helping them. Just deflect. By the way, I'd submit to you, there's a lot of anti-Trump media that are going to always ask him that question because they know he's not smart enough to deflect. He's going to keep taking the bait. Don't answer it. It's not helping you out. That would be the response. I'm here to make America. I don't give a damn what her race is. She doesn't have the best policy for the country. That's how he should answer it. But the media, they know he's not capable of doing that. He's going to take the bait every damn time. Same thing with the Martin Luther King rally size. Don't even get involved in that stuff. Looking at Kamala don't have any policies for the country. That's not true. Where is their anti-Trump media? MSNBC is not anti-Trump to you? There's plenty of anti-Trump media, certainly on YouTube. I mean, it's all over the place. Kamala has a lot of policies. Yeah, the idea that Kamala doesn't have any policies is insane. And I'll tell you right off the bat, you can't say Kamala Harris has no policies and then try to tie her to every policy you don't like from the Biden administration, essentially admitting she has policies. Either she doesn't have any or she does. You can't pick and choose when you want to use that or not. Tying her to policies you believe failed the country under the Biden administration, then you're admitting she has policies. Looking in the comments. By the way, codifying a woman's right to choose is a policy. That's a policy. And by the way, the women love that policy. When she's saying we will never go back, that's a policy. Because a lot of folks believe that President Trump is trying to take America back to a different era. And, you know, to some degree, I mean, he is using the phrase, make America great again. So it's clear it does sound like he's talking about doing something that is part of our past. It don't have to be 1950. It could be 2010. But he's clearly saying, make America great again. So the phrase itself suggests you're going back to something. That's her policy. We're not going back. And by the way, if you're going to tie Biden to Kamala, people are going to tie Trump to J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance is clearly talking about going back. I don't think that's even up for debate. J.D. Vance is clearly speaking from a message of keeping women in a traditional role. I don't think any woman hardly disagrees with that. I mean, he wants women to have the role of having children. It's pretty clear. Looking in the comments, America sucks right now, says Dabs 420. All right, a lot of people believe that. A lot of people believe it sucked. No matter what era in history you go to, people are going to believe America sucks in that history, in that era. Kamala will not do an interview with the media at all. Trey Bay, I don't disagree with that. She should, but the right wants her to do the right wants her to do interviews so they can tear her statements apart for the simple fact that they are running low on material. Because she's the vice president, she don't have a lot of things she was doing. That was all Biden. You can't blame Kamala for Biden's economy. She doesn't make any rules on that. The right has very little material on Kamala. That's why you're hearing about Willie Brown and all of this other stuff that is irrelevant. So what they want her to do is interviews, so there will be some material. Then you can critique her speeches and actually come up with things that point out that she didn't do right. That's why they are begging for that interview, which is understandable. She should do an interview. But that's the goal, is to tear her speeches apart. Furback, good afternoon.
What's up, man? How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. Good to have you back on. So what do you think? Kamala Harris stealing one of Trump's signature promises to let waitresses keep their tips tax-free.
I mean, you can say steal. I'll give you that. I've been saying for a while that's, because, Obama had some good things and Trump came in and ran on, I'm going to repeal and push back everything he did. Right. I think that's why we're at as far as divided. Me personally, I think it was a good move by her. I mean, I think it shows that who's an adult, because I don't think Trump would have agreed with it if she said it.
Yeah. Well, Trump believes that he's the one that's delivering the best and brightest version of America.
Yeah, I mean, hey, nothing wrong with that. I mean, some of his things are good. I think if they ever get into a debate, I think she's going to handle it differently from the standpoint that she knows pull and push of an investigation or a or having a client in front of you. So what I'm saying is, she's gonna be like, okay, I agree with you there, but this is where I disagree with you. And I don't think anyone's ever debated him in that manner.
Yeah, Hillary Clinton should have been savvy enough to do that, but yeah, considering that she has a lengthy history as a prosecutor, which essentially, when you're trying to case, you're kind of debating to some degree
all the time.
Yeah, so I gotta assume that in a debate she would probably best him, because that's kind of what she did as a career.
Yeah, and I totally agree. You know what I mean? And I heard a few callers back. He was talking about. I'm right there with you, man. I mean, I don't care what comes with him until he clears up this. Cops having total immunity. I mean, every time he's been asked, it's like he doubles down on it. When he's talking about when the looting starts, the pew-pewing starts. Yeah. But when he was asked at the NABJ, hey, so what about Sonya Massey? And he's like, yeah, it just looked bad.
Yeah. Speaking of looting and protest, did you hear about what happened in Ferguson, Missouri on the 10-year anniversary of what is his name? Freddie Brown, or what was his name? The guy who
was that Michael?
Mike Brown, yeah. They actually rioted there yesterday or the day before. And an officer lost his life.
Yeah, I'm never good with anybody losing their life. That's the tragedy there, but the property and all that, I just hope you got Geico.
You said you hope you got Geico?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, the loss of life is tragic. I mean, but the burning and looting, I mean, how you not have any inkling that something like this was going to come on? I mean,
yeah, but how the hell you going? Okay, you had riots. They burned Ferguson to the ground. I went there 3 days after they did that. Ferguson definitely had a lot of racism within his ranks. They flipped the entire department. Now, the guy who took out Mike Brown was ruled to be justified, and that was under that was under Eric Holder. So they did an investigation and determined that was a justifiable unaliving, but they found a ton of racism in Ferguson. They flipped the whole department over from top down. Now, 10 years later, they want to riot on the anniversary of that when, as the chief said, all of those cops are gone. So the chief stated, we gave you guys everything you wanted, body cams, accountability, and you still seem to be unhappy. Like, what the hell are we rioting for?
Well, it's like most days, it's a time to take advantage of a situation. It also may be a thing that, just because of racism was gone didn't mean the practices that they was practicing was gone. I mean, I don't know. I don't live in Ferguson, so I just try to look at both sides of it.
Yeah, but at least riot on an actual case. You're going to come and riot on an anniversary that's 10 years ago? I mean, that's insane.
Yeah, I don't know, Tim. I didn't put it together. They didn't call me.
Okay.
I would have probably had that pushback. Hey, man, let's find a better day to do this. But, hey, like I said, I wasn't part of that meeting.
Fair enough. So at the end of the day, though, you think Kamala will win that debate against Trump?
Oh, yeah, easily. And I also think it's pretty savvy of her that, it's funny, even you kind of do it. You like, he embellished. Alternative fact is that an embellishment. I mean, it's a lie.
Yeah, that's what Kellyanne Conway of his administration said, that it's alternative facts. I'm like, yeah, you're gonna hold Tim Walz accountable, but you're allowing Trump to say whatever. It's just, hey, look, he's just exaggerating. So yeah, that doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, and her, it's the other side once again. Is this clamoring for her to talk to, the media and answer questions. Trump, he had his court case going on. He didn't get on the stage with Nikki, anybody. You know what I mean? All he did was throw shit from outside the fucking the zoo. That's all he did. You know what I mean? So I tip my hat to her. Like, shit, why, if he didn't have to do it, I'll do it. I'm ready to.
Yeah, and that you do raise a good point. When the other 9 were running against Trump, He didn't debate any of them. In that, you're right. The right did not hold them accountable. Trump stated, "I'm way ahead of Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis and all of them folks. I don't have to debate them." And the right was like, "Cool, you don't have to debate them."
And as far as I'm thinking on our side is she's way ahead because she's the only horse. So what's the difference?
Well, she ain't way ahead of Trump though.
Yeah, I mean that's the opponent. But I'm talking about within the party, we don't need to hear nothing from her. And
you don't want to. You don't want to hear no interview from. So in other words, she got your vote no matter what.
Yeah, I mean I've kind of been on that side, and like I said, I like to think I'm fair. And I've tried to look at good things this guy's done and what he's good for. And I'm to a point where, and I live this way in life. I don't care how good you are. It doesn't outweigh the bad. When people talk about money and the economy and, people's living right, I can only imagine the people that was living outside opposed to those that was living in the house that looked like me and you were saying, well, why y'all want to leave? Maps are good to us.
Damn.
That's what I hear.
That's horrible.
Sorry.
Shit. That's horrible.
That's what I hear.
All right.
But yeah, that's the comparison I see. And like I said, man, another great show. Love that you on. Like these little impromptu lives you're doing, man. So keep it up, brother.
Appreciate that. Thanks for the support. Come on back anytime.
No doubt.
Thank you. And looking in the comments, someone pointed out something. This is a very common response. Bob McPherson on YouTube said they vote for personality, not actual real things. Now, folks on the right have been stating that about folks on the left for about 7 years, 6-7 years now. They vote based on their feelings, they vote based on their emotion things. Here's my response, and I'm not disagreeing with you. A lot of folks do vote against Trump based on the tweets, as you put it, their emotion and their feelings. But here's my point. If you on the right, if you're running for office, if you believe Trump has the best direction for America, and you're 100% certain that people are voting based on their emotions and their feelings, then why keep doing that? If you know people are voting because they have thin skin, why would you continue saying things that's going to affect them? Keep in mind, none of the quote-unquote mean tweets are necessary to make America great. None of that insult, none of that stuff you're telling people that they need to ignore, get out of their feelings, none of that stuff that's putting them in their feelings or making them emotional is necessary to make America great. So if you know it's costing them votes, why not stop doing it? As opposed to telling millions of people to change how they're acting and continue voting for Trump despite the tweet. Why not focus on the one guy? Why not tell him, sir, this isn't working? You're losing millions of voters doing this. You want the millions of people to change when it would be easier to tell that to the one guy. And I see in the comments, James Ian says, facts, don't care about your feelings. If everything Trump stated was factual and it was beneficial to the country, because a lot of things, sometimes people say things that may piss some people off, but look, at the end of the day, we need to do this. Fair enough. But when you're just throwing around blatant insults, nervous Nancy doesn't benefit anything. It's just an insult. There's nobody benefiting from calling Nancy Pelosi nervous Nancy or making fun of her husband being beaten with a hammer. You're not getting any votes for that. It's not necessary to get the budget under control or to control folks who are coming in across the border. You're not going to lower illegal immigration by calling her husband names. It's not necessary. I don't know why the right have been trying to do this from day one. How do we get millions of people to just let him insult them and still vote for him? And you know what the solution has been? To continue insulting the people. I want him to be able to insult you, and you still see that he's the right person for this country. And if you're too dumb to still see it, then I'm going to insult you too. And the right thinks that that is a winning strategy. The insults ain't necessary. The insults are not necessary. Whether you think people should have thick skin and avoid them or what, they're not necessary. And you've known for years that they are hurting him and costing him votes. And the response is, well, then if it's costing them votes, then I'm going to add on and insult them along with Trump. All right, and I see in the comments, James Ian says, crybabies. Do you realize how that look? I mean, you're insulting somebody, they're sitting there crying, and your response is to continue insulting the person while they're crying. This is where the whole bullies term comes to mind. This is why you're getting that. I mean, it ain't necessary to make the country great again. And until you get that, you're going to keep bitching about Kamala and other Democrats not seeing your point. Until you understand that. I don't give a damn how productive you are, how great you are at what you do. People are not just going to let you go around insulting them. You think sitting senators and generals that have worked their way up to their positions of prominence is just going to let you insult the hell out of them because you got the right vision for America? Is that how you believe that? I'll tell you this, and I can be damn sure confident about what I'm going to say. If Obama or Biden or Kamala Harris was giving you the same damn policies of Trump, the same economy of Trump, doing everything MAGA wants, but they continued making fun of Christians and gun owners, you can be damn sure that MAGA would not favor that, and they would not vote for him. The reason MAGA doesn't give a damn about the insults is simple. They're not aimed at them. The insults are not aimed at you. It's easy to turn a blind eye when the person's not talking about you. But the idea that somebody should just sit there, respectable people, and just let the president insult them wholesale because he's doing what's right by the economy. What part of the game is this? Where is it necessary to do this to run the country right? Trey Bay, appreciate the super chat. My question is, what have Democrats done for African Americans in 60 years? Not a damn thing, but the hype is up about race at election. Well, you're going to say, what has the Democrats done for blacks for 60 years? Wow, I mean, most of the African Americans that are in politics got their jobs from Democrats. What do you mean? I mean, most of them, the top four largest cities in America. DJ Julio, yeah, appreciate the hat and mustache. Thank you, haven't seen you in a while. The top four largest cities in America: New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, and I believe Houston. All of them are African Americans. Democrats, by the way. The Republicans don't tend to vote in African Americans for large positions. What do you mean they haven't done anything? I mean, you're already calling Kamala Harris a DEI hire. The Democrats did that. Same thing about the Supreme Court justice. You're calling her DEI. The Democrats did that. They are doing things. You're just not paying attention to it. I love this. At least we are talking to each other. United we stand. Jeff Patakis, that is the whole purpose of the show. You don't have to agree with the host. You don't have to agree with anybody in the damn comments. It's all about free speech here. I get criticized all the time. I have thick skin. But I tell you one thing, my skin is thick as an alligator. But I'm not going to vote for your ass if you're saying all kinds of horrible shit about me. If you don't respect me, how the hell do I look electing you? And I would submit to you that the sentiment is exactly the opposite as well. If I'm disrespecting folks, I don't feel confident they would vote for me. Going back to the box. Stick the ruler. Good afternoon,
hey,
Stick.
What's going on, Tim? How you doing?
I'm hanging around like Mike Pence on January 6th. What say you?
I don't think he hung around too long. He had to get up out of there for a second.
Yeah, he saved his life.
Yeah. But I heard you ask the question on, do I think it's messed up that Kamala stole Donald Trump's plan?
Yes, she did that.
Right?
She did do that, right?
I mean, if you want to say it's stolen, you can call it stolen.
Okay.
You can call that border bill stolen as well.
Yeah.
I mean, so at the end of the day, it don't matter if you got a bill, if you don't do nothing with it, and it's dead from day one, because now somebody else may say, "Oh, I like it. I want to do that as well."
Okay.
Then that seems like it's a problem on your end, because every time your end comes out with a plan, especially like with the border, Donald Trump comes and throws a shoe in it.
What do you mean throw a shoe in it? You mean the border bill?
Yeah, the border bill, and I think that he might even retract on this one because she likes it. He might turn his turn the other cheek.
I don't. So you think that he may become president and then renege on promising to let them keep their tips tax free?
I don't think that he's gonna become the president. What I'm saying is now I'm talking like maybe tomorrow he might tweet something like, you know what? Being that she's for it, I just can't go through with it. I can't do that thing.
I don't. You really think he's that narcissistic?
Man, that is Trump 101. I mean, J.D. Vance, right? The thing that they did with J.D. Vance is the same thing that they did with Kamala, right? That's what they're trying to put out there, that he only got Kamala because of this, and Kamala and J.D. Vance have something in common because they both spoke negatively of their running mates.
No, I don't. Yeah, I don't buy that. I don't think that.
Yeah, Kamala spoke bad about Joe.
Yeah, that's true. She did.
J.D. Vance and J.D. Vance spoke bad about Trump in the beginning.
Yeah, but Trump.
At the end of the day.
Yeah, but I think that Biden picked Kamala, as they say, DEI hire. He picked Kamala because she was a black woman. I don't think it had nothing to do with what she had said about him.
Well, I don't think it's what she said. I don't think it had anything to do about what she said about him either. I think it was a power move. I think he made that move that Trump should have been made, but he's again too narcissistic to take that move to even agree with Kamala. That's why I said again, or Kamala, I'm sorry, and that's why I say again, the man that might reverse overnight because he will do that. You know it and I know it. I mean, he has nothing to do with the 2025 project, right? He has nothing to do with Agenda 47 or any other thing that's tied in with.
He's not denying Agenda 47 though. I don't think.
Hey, whether he is or he ain't, he does that. What's it called? Plausible deniability.
Yeah.
He does that all the time with everything. You know. Take the vaccine, don't take the vaccine. Do this, do that, don't do this, don't do that. You know, that's his signature move. So I don't put anything past him. That's why I said now that she's said, you know what, that's a good idea. And if I get in, since y'all like it, I'll do that as well. And on top of that, I won't come in your bedroom or your doctor's office. Like, yeah, I'm on that. So it's a problem for him.
All right, and I don't disagree with it. I mean, Kamala does seem to be doing better in the polls than Trump, but Trump is still telling folks that he's winning.
Well, he's going to do that regardless. I mean, he lost and hasn't been the president in over going on 4 years. He hasn't been the president, but he told everybody he won that election. And the election before that, if he would have lost, he would have told everybody he won that one, but he ended up winning. So it's just one of those things where you got to take everything he says with a grain of salt, especially if you're not for Trump, because the people who are with Trump, they will make excuses for him. They will not only make excuses for him, but they will try to explain what he's actually saying, and it's just a big pretzel. As people would say, it's a big pretzel. They put themselves in pretzels, and then they come to find out. Then they'll say, you know what, I really don't like a lot of stuff that he says, and I don't agree with it. But, I like his policies.
Yeah. Well, but in the comments, I got someone, who is this? Vigilant, love the name, says, you have the worst VP in history picking the worst governor in history as her VP. Do you see Kamala and Tim Walz as the worst in history? Damn.
Well, they said Mike Pence was. If that's a MAGA supporter, they said Mike Pence was the worst because he didn't do that thing, be a part of the elector scheme You know, as my boy Zeus might say, you know, that's just.
Well, the fact is, anybody that goes up against Trump is going to be the worst in history. I think Kamala Harris was being called the worst in history.
So again, she wasn't the worst in history till she took that podium,
right?
And she's getting all the support that she's getting. I mean, $120 million in 36 hours. Come on, like.
And the money continued, and once she picked Tim Walz, they started raising a whole bunch of more money. So, you think she's gonna pull it off?
That's just the thing. And yeah, and then of course he got his own little thing, like, you know, not trying to say he's like MAGA, but he's got a coin phrase. They're weird.
Yeah.
But that's like the closest thing that you could say. You know what I'm saying? The MAGA, y'all. Okay, I just want to say this, Tim. This is just my vision of MAGA. MAGA, you're so weird that you'll dig in your nose, smell it. That's normal person, right? But MAGA, you will dig in your nose, smell it, and then put it in your mouth.
Oh my God.
That's how weird. That's how weird MAGA is.
This almost sounds like one of them "your mama's so fat" type jokes, but that's nasty.
But that's the weird that we're talking about. Like, y'all go above and beyond weird. So,
but it's let me ask you: is securing the border weird? Is, you know, strengthening the economy, is that weird? Is, you know, projecting strength globally, worldwide, so we don't have all these wars? Is that weird? Because some say that MAGA was holding it down.
I'll say half of y'all don't even know whether you want to support Israel or not. Half of y'all don't know whether you want to support Ukraine or not. Half of y'all don't know whether you want people to live or pass away, because you won't do anything about the gun laws that's causing a lot of people to pass away. But then at the same time, you say you don't want any abortions. So it's a weird thing y'all got going on. And y'all tell people y'all Christians, but at the same time, if somebody comes on your property, you don't mind blowing a person away.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at. And again, it's weird.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I've kind of got shied away from Christianity, because I'm starting to see things in America that's like, I can't imagine any deity would want this stuff to happen. I mean, we're just unkind to each other. Certainly, like when it comes to what people call free shit. If you know your neighbor's struggling, you're going to be against doing anything. They should pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Is that what Jesus used to say? I'm not going to do nothing for you. Find a way yourself.
And see, that's just the thing about it. Again, it's one of those things you base yourself on a basically. I'm not gonna say it's a totally peaceful book, but the total premise is: thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit adultery. All of these things, but time after time, these so-called people that are Christians, especially politicians that are so-called Christians, are found in these deep, dark places, whether it's Epstein's Island, whether it's, I don't know, in a hotel room with a corn star. Like, it's just all this just crazy stuff. But again, you're Christians. But all of these things happen, and I know what you're going to say. You should forgive people, and again, that's not our business, right? But then in the same breath, you'll want to be in somebody's bedroom and tell them in their doctor's office that they can't have an abortion. It's weird, my friend. So yeah, I'm just looking at them like side-eyed. I don't get it. I don't understand it. And I do understand it, and that's the weird part.
All right, fair enough. I got to move it on, Stick. Appreciate you coming through as always. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And
all right, have a good one.
You too. Real quick, folks, if you will, because obviously I'm sitting in the damn car and the sun is setting. Give me about 10 seconds. I got to get my lighted device, because otherwise you won't see my black ass. Hang on a sec. Somewhere back here. No, maybe in this. All right, we'll continue the program, and I do appreciate you folks holding on. Vote for freedom. Well, it depends on who you elect. Different people have a different opinion what's freedom. Someone in your car, yeah, me, What your uterus? I don't have a uterus. The weird people trying to call the normal people weird is funny. I don't know who the hell is normal in our current society. This dude is just a liberal. Nothing he says is non-biased. Kaja, I don't know how to pronounce your name, but tune into. By the way, I'd love to speak to you. You can feel free to criticize the hell out of your boy. You know how we do it here. I'm for freedom of speech. Looking in the comments, what did I say? What title is Kamala vice president? What title is she? Yeah, vice president. Let's drop the vice. That is why Biden picked her. She is next. Oh, so you said what title is Kamala? She's vice president. You want to drop the vice and make her Madam President. And you're saying that's why Biden picked her. She is next. Well, some are suggesting that Biden didn't pick her, that the liberals kicked Biden out of the picture. I want to point that out. All right, going back to the box. Thank you folks for holding on. Continuing on with the one and only DJ Julio. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program, Julio. So, what do you think? I'm doing good. I ain't talked to you in a while. Good to have you back on.
Well, I've been at the Sturgis Motorcycle Rally DJing for the last 9 days straight.
Oh, in Sturgis? Wow.
Yeah, I lost my voice a little bit.
Well, it's good to have you on. So, Kamala has apparently decided to steal Trump's, allowing waitresses and folks who work for tips to keep their tips tax-free, something that Trump came up with. Kamala has now taken it. Does it make you view Kamala any different that she would take one of Trump's signature promises and use it for herself?
Well, no, it doesn't. It doesn't at all. It doesn't surprise me 1 second.
Meaning
that's kind of that base is let the smart people come up with the good ideas and I'll run with it. I mean, it's a good idea. I'm just trying to talk shit. It's a good idea. I think that anybody from any walk of politics would agree that if we can make it happen, that'd be the way to do it.
How do we make up all of that lost tax money?
Say that again.
How do we make up all of that lost tax money? People are going to ask.
Well, we have to start charging people for what they're bringing into our country. You know, those tariffs, that's exactly what a tariff is it's a tax on imports. It's not a tax on exports. You know, and if China goods go up a little bit, then fine. That's fine. We'll buy stuff in America then finally.
You think Trump can implement all of that? He only has a max of 4 years left.
He did a lot of it in his first 4. I mean, he got us back to a fair trade, import, export, by inside of those top tariffs. And yes, some shit got expensive, but it also made way for new employment and shit to be done here in America in a lot of cases.
Some would argue that. Now, I haven't talked to you in a while, obviously, because you were in Sturgis. I want to ask you, because something that Trump said a few days ago, he stated that he had more people during his speech in Washington than Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech. Why would he do that?
He's trying to compare himself to another great man, I would assume, but that part in that was very smart. That's not a good thing to be saying.
Yeah. So you do believe
yes, it doesn't
Trump screwed up with that?
Apples. I believe that is.
Okay, I don't know what I just did here. All right, hang on a second. Hold on a second. My TikTok audience.
His team clearly didn't read the speech very well and didn't think about what could happen, what could come of it.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's not apples and oranges. You're talking about, the great man Martin Luther King, who had a great dream, who had a great ideology. And then you got Donald Trump, who's also got great ideologies, and also, in my opinion, is a fairly great man today. Maybe not 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. I don't know. I didn't know him.
But Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech was about civil rights. Trump's speech was about the election was stolen and you need to fight for your country and all of that. I mean, when you contrast what happened with January 6th versus Martin Luther King, Should they even be in the same sentence?
I mean, to be honest, Tim, you know me better. I personally wouldn't put that in the same sentence. I wouldn't put them in the same conversation. Yeah. But there again, there's a lot of people. Let's take Martin Luther King's era when that was going on. There was a lot of people on both sides. The oppressed and the oppressors that were like, you know what? Yeah, that's a great freaking speech. That's a great freaking speech.
But
I want to be equal to the next person.
Yeah, but
when Donald Trump.
When Trump spoke, Trump also said no one lost their life on January 6th. Why would he say that?
I don't know. I heard you. I heard a little snippet of you. I was listening to you before I went on, and I heard you talking about that. I don't know. I mean, from all accounts that I know about, I mean, Ashley Babbitt did get shot. His shoulder getting shot. Or pew-pewed. I'm sorry, TikTok. This is for education purposes.
Right. Well, let me ask you this, because we were hearing constantly that Biden had advanced dementia, couldn't keep his thoughts together, didn't know where he was at. Trump is starting to look like he got Willie Brown confused with somebody else on a helicopter. So I mean, it's looking more like he don't know somebody lost their life at his own protest. Is he getting old?
I mean, yeah, he's getting old. He's getting old. I think he's still got it in him to be as good as he was the first four. And I think if he gets left alone this time, he'll actually get some shit done.
You sound like a Biden supporter about 3 months ago.
Yeah, you might be right.
Yeah. So I mean, it started to sound like.
Let me say this. I have not. Since July 25th, I have not watched a lick of news. I haven't watched anything. I haven't been really even relevant on or prevalent on TikTok. I just kind of stayed away, preparing to play music, I guess. So like, fucking big ass cow, get out of my way.
All right, well, we'll keep it short because you ain't been in the news too long, but it's always good to have you back on, man. I appreciate you coming through.
I just wanted to come by and say hi. And when I heard Stick the Ruler, he's normally a pretty sound talker, but I don't know about this elementary shit that he's talking. He clearly doesn't have any clue what MAGA stands for, period. I mean, if people did, it means something to him.
Well, let me get it from you. What does MAGA stand for?
It means Make America Great.
We know what the acronym is, but what does it stand for?
It's just an adjective.
It doesn't stand for anything then.
It stands for people giving a shit about each other. It stands for people giving a shit about each other.
I don't get that.
It stands for...
Wait, hold on.
Do what you want to do.
When you say it's about people giving a shit about each other, you do realize that whether it's minimum wage, whether it is universal health care, whether it is tuition loan forgiveness, MAGA's against all of that. Where's the part where they give a shit about each other?
Tuition forgiveness isn't. It's not. That has nothing to do with giving a shit about people. That's holding people responsible for what they chose to do.
How do I? Okay, let me ask you. How do I know?
I do. The left-leaning side of me says with that tuition forgiveness, it's going to be a good thing for some people. But the Republican side of me agrees with most of them, where, if you make your bed, you lay in it.
Minimum wage increase for somebody who's actually going to work and putting an honest 40 hours in, you don't think they should get a minimum wage increase?
I mean, I think that should definitely be subject to industry as well.
Well, the right has been consistently against the minimum wage. I'm trying to hear the part that you said that it's about we give a shit about other people. Give me some examples of what leads you to say that.
Well, I mean, with Trump, he did everything he could for the vets. He did what he could for the people that were locked up inappropriately or unjust locked up.
What did he do for people that were locked up?
He allows us in each state that we live in to have our word heard by our state first.
Yeah, but you do realize, DJ Julio, that in America, states' rights has a horrible history. There's a reason why a lot of things are federal, because America was founded on states' rights, and the states were treating people like crap.
Well, in some states that can happen, and in some situations that can happen, but even in our current situations, you know, we see our states treating certain people like shit. Not in South Dakota. We got to be in South Dakota.
So you believe in state? Let me ask you.
So long as I'm not hurting nobody, I can go about my life.
If you're okay with forcing a woman to carry a baby to term, even if she could die, is that caring about her?
That's not our stance.
That is what's happening.
That's a few radical stances, yeah.
Yeah, and every
radical stance.
Wait, hold on.
Disagree with that.
You're right. It's a few radical. Hold on. Hang on. You're right. It's a few radical stances, but every radical doing that leans to the right.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
Yeah.
What I'm saying.
I don't know if he dropped out or not. We'll give him a chance to. Sound like his signal was going back. Well,
when we're talking abortion.
Okay, I gotta move it on Julio. Your signal's going in and out.
I got you. Go ahead.
All right, appreciate you coming through. I wanted to hear that though. He says MAGA cares about people. I wanted what is the examples of that? I think in my opinion, and I do, invite dissenting, commentary. You can let me know if you think I'm getting it wrong, but in my observation, the right is about self-reliance. You rely on yourself. You pull yourself up by your bootstraps. I'm not caring about you. I'll try to make sure you have a good economy so you can go out and work and get a decent job. But at the end of the day, don't expect nothing from me. That's generally what I see from the right. It's not about we care about no, you're going to figure out what you're going through. If what you're going through is hard, you're going to figure out a way to survive it without any assistance from me. That's usually what self-reliance is about. And I don't see how that means you care about other people. Telling me to go out and get a job, that doesn't mean you care about me. That's just advice. Looking in the comments, why isn't Trump going to prison in September? Is that when he's supposed to be sentenced? Well, the Supreme Court has kind of made that hard. The Supreme Court has really made some very favorable rulings to Trump. If it's free, it's free. Swipe your EBT. It's free. Swipe your EBT. And all you got to do is F's and nines. All you got to do is fuck, I guess. Fuck, and 9 months later, you getting the big bucks. Fernando Alonso, now that's a Hispanic name, suggesting that all you got to do is fuck, and 9 months later, you're getting big bucks. You believe what folks receive, let's say from welfare, because you're mentioning EBT. In your opinion, the amount of food stamps they give you on an EBT card is quote unquote big bucks. You got very low standards. If you believe the money they put on an EBT is big bucks, you apparently aren't doing very well for yourself. Look at in the comments, second grade education, says Chad. All right. I've never heard someone refer to welfare as quote unquote big bucks. Minimum wage jobs is for teens. Christopher Bearden, I would be willing to entertain the notion that minimum wage jobs is for teens if the only people in this country receiving minimum wage were teenagers. There's a whole lot of places that pay. What was the liberals asking for? $15 minimum wage? And the right was saying that's too much, and a burger flipper shouldn't get 15. When you think about what the minimum wage is in a lot of states in the South, $7.25, $7.50, and you put $7.25 on a scale, and you go to $15 on the other end, there's a lot of jobs in between $7.25 and $15 an hour that are not teenagers working. CNAs, assistant teachers, school bus drivers, factory workers. When you leave your hotel, the person that comes in your hotel room and cleans up, those aren't kids. I'd be 100% agreeing with you that if you want to say minimum wages for burger flippers and teenagers, fine. But then pass a law that says they're the only ones that get that salary. A lot of fast food restaurants are open in the middle of the night. Those aren't teenagers in there. They're still paying them like shit. So, yeah, the idea that minimum wage is for teenagers is not true. And I look into the comments, Trevor J says, so prices double. Why are there so many Americans? This is something I don't get. Why are there so many Americans that believe they would be better off being paid less? Makes no sense to me at all. You're going to suggest that if we raise the minimum wage, prices double. So how about if we keep the minimum wage the same for 20 years? You think things are going to stay the same for 20 years? The price of shit has went up anyway, even without the minimum wage increase. They just pocketed the money that you should have been earning. Why do so many people believe that they are better off not getting a raise? That makes no sense at all. Yes, look, at the end of the day, what should have been taking place is they should have had cost of living raises over and over again for the last 20 years. And by now, the minimum wage would probably be $15 or more. But literally state after state after state in the Republican portion of this country has given a 0-cent increase in minimum wage for year after year after year after year. I mean, like 20 years in some places. Like 20 years with no minimum wage increase at all. You're going to tell me the price of a burger in Mississippi cost exactly what it did back in 2004? Nothing went up, huh? All of those jobs that people work at that pay minimum wage, they're still charging you 2004's prices. Because you're saying that if you raise the minimum wage, the price of goods and services go up. Okay, so if you don't raise the minimum wage, do they stay the same? No. Do you think the people who own those companies have had the same wage for 20 years? Why do so many Americans think they're better off with no increase? That is crazy. That makes no sense to me at all. Harris leads in the latest New York Times poll of Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. I certainly heard that, and Trump is saying that he's leading in the polls. I was watching Fox News this morning, and they had analysts on there even saying that, indicating that what Trump is saying is not true. Like the polls are not agreeing with what you're telling your audience. And I'll tell you this in my humble opinion. If you believe the media leans left, the media defends the liberals, and a lot of media does, in my opinion. If you believe the media leans left, understand this. Liberals do better with a high voter turnout. The right does better with a smaller voter turnout. What am I getting at? I believe that Kamala, maybe I'm wrong, you can tell me so if you think so, but my belief is Kamala's doing better than they're telling you in the liberal media because they want to continue energizing the vote. Keep telling them that it's close, that Kamala's struggling, that Trump is still winning places because it'll encourage them to stay on course and show up and vote. If you tell them that she's winning, a lot of liberals will say, okay, good, she got it. I'm not even going to waste my time going down there. So my guess is the liberal media may actually be telling you that the race is closer than what it is, which could lead to MAGA on election day being pissed off because the polls weren't saying she was winning like that. That could happen. But yeah, my guess is Kamala's actually doing better than what they're telling you. We'll see. But yeah, I mean, and at the end of the day, that's probably why she's not giving speeches. She don't really have to. Looking in the comments, wait for the debate. She can't talk, says Christopher. A woman with a history as a prosecutor, propelling up to become attorney general, then senator, then vice president. That's the woman you're saying, Crystal. She can't talk. Does that make sense? Someone who has climbed the ranks like that, I'm going to assume your belief is maybe she kept sleeping with people over and over. I don't know. But her resume makes it clear she is capable of talking. You don't think the Democrats vetted her, had conversations with her before Biden picked her as VP? She obviously can talk. She can't talk. Good luck with that. You may find yourself really disappointed after the debate if you believe that. I've been looking for a better job in California, but most jobs now require me to be bilingual. Dude, bro. Wow. That sucks. I can't see Kamala sitting next to Putin. Laugh my ass off. Well, does she really need to? Putin's an enemy. I'll tell you this. Trump went over and visited Putin. Trump certainly has no problem sitting next to Putin. But Trump has made it clear if he becomes president, hands off in the Russia-Ukraine war. And every single one of our allies believe that we should be helping the Ukraine. All of Washington, with the exception of MAGA, believes we should be helping the Ukraine. When those other folks were running against Trump, remember he didn't show up at the debate, but you had like 9 of them. Kamala, you had Nikki Haley and Chris Christie and Ron DeSantis and Vivek and all of them. They asked him at that debate, if you were to become president, would you continue supporting the Ukraine? Vivek Ramaswamy and Ron DeSantis were hesitant. But at the end, all 9 of them raised their hand and stated that they would continue helping the Ukraine. Only MAGA wants to lead the Ukraine on the lurch. Everyone else, all of our allies, all of NATO, all of the politicians in Washington, from the far left progressives right on through to the traditional Republicans, all want to help the Ukraine. It's only MAGA saying don't do that. So just take that with a grain of salt. Looking in the comments, Gavin Hayes, did you used to be liberal? What made you change? I don't like all liberal policies. I don't like all policies on the right. I consider myself to be a moderate with left-leaning social aspirations. So take it like that. I'm certainly not far left, and I damn sure ain't far right. Yuki, how do tariffs affect the economy or consumers? Well, any tax you add on to a good or service can be passed down to the consumers of that good or service. So if you add tariffs, like for instance, if let's say for John Deere makes tractors in Mexico, this is something Trump promised and I really liked when he was doing it. Every product you send back to the United States, we're going to add a tariff on it. Well, chances are Mexico's going to pass that tariff down to the person who was purchasing the tractor. But it does give us an incentive. If the tariffs are high enough, then it might make sense for John Deere to just make their product here, employing Americans. Never seen a Biden hat. They got them. Well, Biden is history now, but they do have Biden hats. Going back to the box, Kamala is illegitimate. The people didn't vote for her. No primaries, no people representation, a true example of stolen democracy. Good luck with that argument. The people voted for Biden-Harris in 2020. If Biden steps down, they knew Harris would be the one that would step up. By the way, there's no Democrat running. There was no Democrat that announced, I want to run, as opposed to giving it to Kamala. There is no opposition on the Democratic side of the aisle. 100% damn near, I won't say 100%, probably about 99% of the folks suggesting that Kamala Harris should not have just gotten the job, they are people who are not going to vote for any liberal, no matter who the hell you put up there. The Democrats are fine with Kamala. It's all folks on the right that are saying that they should have had some type of primary or had some type of vote off. And it makes sense. 3 months out when Biden stepped down, if the Democrats did what the right is suggesting, then that means you got Gavin Newsom, Gretchen Whitmer, and all these folks fighting against each other, making each other look bad and things like that. All of this helps the right. You want them to not just put Kamala up, because putting Kamala up has created a unified Democratic Party. You want to fight because it benefits your side. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who they fight and ultimately choose. You're not going to or vote for any liberal. I think the left can see through that. They're not going to take your advice on that. That only works for you. RFK is a Republican. He would compete against Trump. And I think the polls are saying that RFK is actually taking votes, more likely to take votes from Trump. I think the polls are actually showing that. Continuing on, Arshafine, appreciate you holding. Good afternoon, or good evening rather. Arshafine, yeah, we want Russia and us to get out of the Ukraine. Ukraine is not supposed to join NATO. That was the whole argument. Yeah, but people believe that Russia is not going to stop at the Ukraine. Only MAGA believes that Russia will stop with the Ukraine. Everybody else believes they're trying to reestablish the Soviet Union. Arsha, good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm doing good. Good to have you on. Appreciate you holding there. So what do you think? Kamala stealing Trump's signature promise?
I don't know if it's a signature promise or not, but one thing I will say, well, just hold on. One thing I will say, I'm here in Hawaii, and a lot of people, the main career is hospitality because tourism. Mm-hmm. And most of the servers and the bartenders and everything live off of tips. Okay, right. Granted, even though our minimum wage is probably, I don't know, it's like $14 or $15 an hour. Most places, anywhere, grocery store, McDonald's, anywhere here, pretty much pays you $20 an hour because, I mean, even at $20 an hour, you know, the cost of living in Hawaii is expensive. Yeah. You know, all of our food. Most of our food has to get shipped in unless it's grown here, you know. So my thoughts, yes, and I was a hairstylist for a number of years. Yes, it would be amazing to not claim or have to pay taxes on your tips. But at the same time, this is where it can go because your tips do, generally, if you pay taxes on whatever your taxable income is, that is what you can put on a credit report. So say I want to buy a house or I want to buy a car or I want some credit. You know, depending on how they make that happen, you don't want to make it so that, I mean, because think of the amount of money people live or probably make on tips. I'm guessing tens of thousands of dollars a year, depending on your profession. That can mean whether or not you qualify for a loan or don't.
So, yeah, so in other words, because it's not being taxed, you're saying you can't use it as part of your income either. That makes sense,
If you're not paying taxes on income, I mean, there's a certain amount, you know, that you're allowed to just, you know, gifts or whatever. But anything more, you're supposed to claim taxes that goes to your future, that goes to, you know, Social Security, you know, if you were to, you know, unemployment, if you were to be hurt on the job. So there's that. So I would like to, you know, as long, I mean, it's a catch-22. How are you still, because if you're not getting taxed on income, how is that going to show up on a W-2 or on a form where you're able to prove income? Because you can only prove income if you're paying taxes on it. Am I right? Or
that's how, unless they make some kind of special provision, that's how it works. They could make it, though, where you are allowed to claim the income, but if it's tips, you don't have to pay taxes on it. Like, you can maybe give you a tip deduction or something.
Well, and I think that's going to be an IRS issue. Like, no president is going to be able, that's going to be something that Congress is going to have to pass, because at the end of the day, you still want to pay into your future. I understand. I mean, so the logistics of that, you know, there's a lot of logistics, because at the end, you know, if you're making, and the good thing is, like, you know, yes, if you get cash tips, you don't have to claim it. That's fine. But, you know, there's some benefit to claiming some tips as a human who's had to, you know, qualify for credit or anything like that. Like, you know, tips are part of our livelihood. So there's that. That's my point on that one. I don't, you know, it's a great idea, but putting it in so that it's beneficial to the hospitality and the tip type employees, so that they don't miss out on some of those entitlements like Social Security and all of that. That's going to have to be, you know,
it's something it's something that will have to be worked into. I get what you're saying. On its face, it doesn't necessarily seem all that great, but I mean, the IRS, as you pointed out, the IRS could probably come up with a way where you can claim how much you made, but you don't pay if you can, put down this percentage was tips. So they lower your taxes, but you can still show it, to get a loan or whatever.
Yeah, and I mean, and and that's kind of where I think about it, because people that I know that get paid under the table or things like that, and they don't claim that, that's a positive and a negative, because if you don't claim something, it's not getting taxed, you don't have record of it, and it's harder to get some of those things that may help you succeed as a grown-up in life, like a car loan, credit, stuff like that. So there's that.
But how do you feel that she is promising something that Trump did first? Like, she's literally taking his promise.
I mean, like I said, I think it's a good idea. There's a lot of ideas, a lot of things that people take from other candidates. But she's got a lot more to go on than just that.
Give me some examples.
Child tax credit, parental sick leave, paid leave, child care. Because at the end of the day, let's these people want us to have babies, but they want, how are we supposed to pay for these babies? Because, child care is expensive. That's where the woman, you have to choose, like, am I going to work or am I going to stay home? I would have liked to have a lot more kids. We ended up having 2, but at the end of the day, kids are expensive. Yeah. Like, they eat, you need clothes, you need, space,
Shit, they try to make it so that every time you have sex, you procreate.
And that's just not, then there's, health insurance. You have to have health insurance because you need to get, them vaccinated and their checkups and make, kids get sick and, all that stuff. I have boys, so they've broken arms, jumping off things and stuff. You don't want to be paying for that shit out of pocket. That's freaking expensive. Thank God we have insurance. But yeah, my other point, I know you were talking about crowd size. This is my answer to that. One, I'm really tired of Donald Trump always trying to be better than a black person. I don't know what his issue is and what his he's got an inferiority complex or something. Why are you always trying to one-up black people? Listen, you don't need to tell me it's okay if Martin Luther King, statistics have a bigger crowd. He did, okay? It doesn't matter. And, and at the end of the day, it's not the size. I'm going to put it the same way as women think about men. It's not the size of the wand. It's the magic that's in it. Oh. And she's got more magic in her rallies than he does, and I'll tell you why. I was listening to a NPR today, and there was a professor on that was talking about rudeness and how it affects society.
Okay.
And what you can see from one campaign to another is joy is infectious just as much as rudeness and incivility. So, I watch Donald Trump's things and I listen to him and I'm like, damn, I'm depressed. I'm angry. I feel like I live my life is shit.
What does Trump say to make you angry and depressed? What does Trump say to make you angry and depressed?
Well, I should be afraid of everything that's happening. There's crazy people all around me. They're coming from insane asylums. I can't afford gas or food. And here I am looking, I just went shopping. I'm fine. America's a shithole, all these things. And I'm like thinking to myself, I don't know. We own our home. I got 2 smart kids. They go to public school. They're good boys. Our neighborhood's great. Low crime. I can leave my cars unlocked, my front door if I wanted to. I know my neighbors, like nobody, but leaving that can make you feel anxious. And, joy and anger are both very contagious. And I don't like what he's trying to spread. I think it's a virus. That's maybe why MAGA's so upset and angry a lot, because he kind of feeds off of that anxiety. And, one thing I like about Kamala or even Clinton back in the day or, Barack Obama is they spread joy and hope. right? Love the person next to you. We are a community. We came together. We are great people. America is the best place. We can do this. Hope, change, all that. Yeah. And, even talking about it, I get goosebumps. Like, you're like, hell yeah, we're fucking awesome. Like,
I'm assuming you watched the first rally when Kamala introduced Tim Walz. Did you watch that?
I've watched all of them. Yeah.
Because it was inspiring, I'm assuming, like that. When she first introduced everybody to Tim Walz, talking about his career and his background and being a teacher and all that.
And, he's everyday people, and so is she. Like, Tim Walz's bank account might be a little bit better than mine, but, he's not an elitist. He didn't get a lot of money. He wears freaking Carhartts and freaking, camo hats. Like, that's as far away from where I came from, as possible. Totally different.
He was picked for that reason. That's why they picked him, is because he was an everyday, average Midwesterner.
Yeah, and I think that's smart and very, very wise. And at the end of the day, I also feel like, just kind of similar to like Bill Clinton or even George Bush. At the end of the day, he probably would have come over to my house and been a hoot, but because he's, was a pretty funny guy at the end of the day. I didn't always agree with his politics, but he was decent. He wasn't rude. He wasn't uncivil. He didn't cut people down, so, I don't like what Trump is spreading. I think he spreads rudeness and it's un-American, and I believe he's un-American.
Why?
I say that. Okay. I don't care what president makes it happen, but if you bring Americans home, you should be supportive of the fact that that president, no matter how it was through, meeting with other allies, got those people home. Because I can tell you what, none of their families cared. They didn't say,
you talking about Trump Biden bringing home the hostages and Trump being critical of it.
Right, and thanking Putin. No, don't thank Putin. Thank the president of the United States. If you're America first, you should be America first. And that doesn't mean America first only when you're in it. It's America first any point. I might not like Donald Trump as a human, but I don't wish any ill will on him. If he becomes the next president, I don't want him to fail, because if he fails, we fail.
That's a good point. All right, Arsha.
Yeah, so that's where I'm at. And one more thing, Tim, because this is driving me bonkers. The cultural race debate. I am a multicultural woman. My dad
shit.
was black.
Okay.
I am my mom was white. Nobody on earth, especially no YT person, should be telling me who or what I am. I knew exactly what I was my very first day of school when you guys decided to call me names, okay? I knew exactly who and what I was when you told my mom she was a N-word lover, okay?
Wow.
So, duh. You can celebrate both sides. And, yes, Kamala Harris is a black woman with Indian heritage. Jamaicans are black. If you look at them, you said a Jamaican next to a black American, you wouldn't know the difference other than the accent. And number two, YT people, it's not your debate. If we accept her, let it go. It's not up for you to decide.
You get no argument from me, Arsha. Appreciate you coming through.
All right, good to see you.
You too. Always a pleasure. And moving the program. Yeah, I agree. I don't know why folks on the right continue talking about our race. If you want to say the liberals suck in their policies and things like that, they have the wrong direction for America, go with that. The racial thing just doesn't go well. Lady, what part of our borders are open and we are under a full invasion that's sinking our country? Do you not get? Don't be crazy. Vote for Trump or our nation will fall. The Dems are communists. Main Mermaid, I think you're kind of stating what she was talking about. Like, your comment is full of doom and gloom. Now, I'm not here to pretend like Biden or Kamala has the best direction for America. I do think that there are good policies on the right and left. However, I don't buy into Armageddon politics. Vote for this candidate and the world will end. Such as when Obama was running for office, if you vote for Obama, he's going to take away everybody's guns. The price of gas is going to be $5. He's going to raise taxes 70% and turn us into socialist Greece. At the time, Greece was the country with the failed economy. Now it's Venezuela. That's Armageddon politics. Now, obviously, we had Obama in office for 8 years and none of that happened. Look, you can point to parts of someone's policies you don't agree with, but I don't buy into the notion that the world's going to end if you elect Trump or if you elect Biden or Kamala, the world. Like what you're just saying there, a full-on invasion. I don't see it. I know there's a lot of immigrants that have come in this country, undocumented residents seeking asylum, but this invasion, poisoning the blood of our country, and they're raping and murdering everything. That's what my last caller was talking about. Just going bananas, trying to over-exaggerate the problem. And if you listen to Trump, about a month ago, he said it was 10 million that were here. Then he went to 18 million. I think now he's saying it's 20 million, as if like literally 1 million people are coming in the country a day. I mean, his numbers are literally based on nothing. I think the truth is sufficient. Under Biden, a lot of folks have come in this country. They're unvetted. We don't know who they are. They could be a risk to the country. That's the truth. Throwing out 18 million a day and 25 million, that is not. That's wild numbers to scare every damn body. So what my last caller was saying, I do believe there's some fact to that, is that you're running kind of on scaring the shit out of everybody. That if you put another Democrat in there, you and your family's going to be asleep and some immigrants are going to come in your house and, and abuse your family. I mean, just wild stuff like that. Same thing with the transgender community. They're going to go in the bathroom with your daughter and take advantage of her and break all of her high school records and, and play on it. I mean, like, just crazy stuff that most of America is not dealing with. So I do believe that the Armageddon politics, the left is doing some of it too, but I think the right really is painting America like we're going to just be, Mad Max if you elect a Democrat. And after seeing Obama, hearing the same thing about him, I can tell you for a fact they overstated it, because everything they're accusing the liberals are doing if you elect Kamala, they said the same thing was going to happen if you elected Obama. And it just didn't happen. I think look, you can point out things you don't like that she's doing, but trying to make it sound like the world is going to end is a bit much. Trump lied and he doesn't care about black jobs, says New Truckers of America. Okay. Paranoia, the destroyer. I'm not a fan of paranoia. I just am not. Actually, they are forcing citizens out on the street to house immigrants. They also shut down a high school in New York City to house immigrants. They are creating sanctuary citizens. Well, let me just say this in regards to that. Who put that? Julie Jager, I think it says. Appreciate my female MAGA. Always a shout out to the females that vote Republican, because everybody says the liberals are going to get the female vote. Get a lot of female MAGA on the program. So shout out to my female MAGA. In regards to your comment, they're forcing citizens out on the street to house immigrants. They also shut down a high school in New York City to house immigrants. They are creating sanctuary citizens. Here's what's funny. Governor Greg Abbott of Texas, and to a lesser degree, Ron DeSantis of Florida, we're going to flood a couple sanctuary cities with immigrants. Now, there's a lot of sanctuary cities throughout the North. Philadelphia, Milwaukee. Now, we're only going to pick one or two of them because we believe we believe they're ignoring the problem here in Texas, or they're ignoring the problem here in Florida. So we're going to flood Chicago or flood New York with immigrants. And then we're going to report to the country how bad things are in that city, knowing that it's only like that because we deliberately flooded that city. That is not an organic event. If you want to believe that immigrants are coming in this country and ruining the country, what's happening in Chicago and New York is not a good example, because that only happened because of Abbott of Texas and Ron DeSantis of Florida. All of the immigrants they sent to Chicago would not have went there. They would have went all over the United States. Deliberately packed that city with a bunch of immigrants, and then you report the chaos that's happening in that city like that's what's happening from immigrants. No, that's what you generated. You wanted that to happen in that city, and now you're going around and telling folks as if all of the immigrants came into America and deliberately went to Chicago. No, that was done intentionally. So when you start, and then like what you pointed out, well, they're kicking people out in the city of New York and they're giving them hotel rooms. Those folks would have been scattered throughout sanctuary cities all over the country. You wouldn't have had the overcrowding and folks all in the street, the things you're using to complain about, if Abbott didn't send them all to one city. That is artificial chaos. That was designed to happen. And now you're going to blame the liberals for it. It's a slick move, but I think most people know what happened. Those immigrants in Chicago or in New York, you're not dealing with that problem because Biden is weak at the border. You're dealing with that problem because Governor Greg Abbott and to a lesser degree Ron DeSantis did not like what Biden was doing at the border and decided to flood your city with immigrants. That's how without Governor Greg Abbott, without Ron DeSantis, the border could have stayed the same way it is and Chicago wouldn't be dealing with that. That needed Governor Greg Abbott to make that happen. So it's not just, that's not Biden's fault. That is more of Governor Greg Abbott's fault. That's what he wanted to happen to make a point. And now that it happened, at his behest, he's going to blame the Democrats for it. No, I just want to point that out. Looking in the comments, Emmer Corner says you are lying. No, okay. If you think I'm lying, feel free to state that. That's fine. But, I mean, the man made it clear what he was doing. You are not correct. The migrants are given a choice where they want to go and are... Bullshit. They're not given a choice. So you're telling me when Governor Greg Abbott put the migrants, or Ron DeSantis, you said they're given a choice. So if they wanted to go to South Carolina, he would send them there, right? They're not given a choice. Bullshit. They're deliberately going to liberal areas. They're given a choice. No, they're not. Houston is a sanctuary city. Houston, Texas is a sanctuary city. No immigrant is going to get on a bus under Greg Abbott and say, I want to go to Houston. You're not given a choice. They're dropping you off where they want to drop you off at. By the way, if they're given a choice, he was doing this in the wintertime, dropping them off with no clothes to wear in Chicago. You didn't tell me the immigrants chose to go to a city in the middle of winter with no clothes? Given a choice, huh? All right, given a choice. Sanctuary cities want them, keep them. Yeah, but there's a lot of sanctuary cities, Juan Hogan. There's a lot of them. They only sent them to two places or so. They really didn't. There are sanctuary cities all over the country. Portland, Seattle. So a bunch of them. They picked a couple cities and flooded them out. That was the goal. Harris slept her way into political power and couldn't even pass the bar exam to set herself up for her job. Then when she did, it was sending innocent victims to prison. You know, before we get into that, first of all, Trump said she didn't pass her bar exam. I don't know if it's true or not, but the fact that she kept rising in the ranks like that, in my opinion, I'm fine with political, folks fighting, but I would invite some politicians to sue people. When you're saying wild shit like that, this woman don't climb the ranks in the legal profession. She passed her bar exam. You can easily look that up. I'm certain Kamala Harris didn't fail her bar exam. That's something that Trump just threw out there. I'd say some of these folks need to start suing each other so that people wouldn't just throw wild shit out there like that. That's like Dominion voting machines. People just started making up shit about them. Now, shout out to Dominion. They got their money from that. But, somebody just started making up wild shit about you like that. My guess is Kamala Harris definitely Not only did she pass her bar exam, she probably did fairly well. They're not just going to pick you for positions like that as attorney general and you barely made it across the... No, that's bullshit. I'm pretty sure she passed it. Illegals were voluntarily majority. I was a translator in El Paso, so you're wrong. Illegals were voluntarily majority. I don't know what that even means, Gabe. How can you be voluntarily majority? You said you were a translator in El Paso, so I'm wrong. Like I said, they're sending immigrants to Chicago when they don't even have clothes. No way in hell I'm going to believe they chose to go to a city where they could literally freeze to death. By the way, there was an expose. I used to bring this up on the program when he was doing that last winter and we was having shows. There was a bus driver that was part of the busing of immigrants from Texas to the northern cities. He was hired by Abbott or hired by the state of Texas to do it. And he did a news expose and stated that when we picked these people up, we were told the bus does not stop until we get out of Texas. And he said that he felt so bad taking the job. He said because he had to use his own money to buy them pizza. He said they sent them with no food, no clothing. They couldn't stop the bus. He said when they finally, like whenever they had to stop for something, they couldn't get off the bus in Texas. So he said his bus got to the point where there was urine and feces rolling down the house because the bathroom could only hold so much waste. And they were not allowed to stop in Texas at all. They couldn't let anybody get off the bus in Texas. So you can stop for gas or whatever, but when you stop, they cannot get off under any circumstance. So they ended up filling up the bathrooms on the bus. Like I said, the waste overflows. He said there was piss rolling down the aisles and things like that. He stopped to buy them food with his own money. Like Texas gave him nothing for those folks. Basically, the message was just get them the hell out of my area. That's it. Just no provisions for them at all. Knowing they're going to Chicago, no clothes, no anything. That's Christianity. Texas Governor Abbott is a Christian. That's why I'm not a big fan of religion anymore. And folks who support him doing that are Christians. Just took them to Chicago, no clothes. Look, you came here illegally. Fuck you. If you die, you die. I mean, that's Christian. What part of the Bible says that that's what you should do? I'll leave it at that. Look, cruelty is the point with the right. Well, that was cruel. And by the way, we were describing this in detail when this was happening last winter. And yeah, on the right, hey, look, they shouldn't have came here. That was the message. Hey, if they came here illegally, so be it. I mean, and not only that, not only were they dropping them off in Chicago in the winter without any type of apparel so that they would not freeze to death, the mayor of Chicago and the mayor of Detroit, or not Detroit, but New York stated, we asked him to let us know where you're dropping these people off so we can meet them at the buses with supplies and some clothes. And they refused to tell us. They just want to drop the people off and let you find them. They wouldn't even tell them where they were dropping them off at. That's what Texas governor, just cruel. Like you came into America illegally and literally like Drago said, if you die, you die. People are not perfect. Even the leaders don't judge the Lord of what those people do. Well, I get your point, but yeah, if that's Christianity, I'm sorry, I'm hesitant to join a crowd that thinks that's okay. I mean, if that's the case, then Jesus at the Last Supper should have told those folks, this is my loaf. I don't give out free shit. I'm not giving each one of you a piece of bread. Self-reliance. Pull yourself up by your damn halo or whatever the case may be. That ain't religion to me. I don't know. I don't know how anybody could do something that cruel. We are the richest country on earth, suggesting that we don't have enough to take care of them to the point where you're going to take them to a place in the middle of winter. Alter ego Thank you for that, Galaxy. Appreciate that. And you call Harris out of her name. Kamala Harris? Did I? Mary crossed borders to birth Jesus. Yeah. To me, I don't, and this is where I get folks who, certainly on the right, who disagree with me. But my opinion is, if you look at how religion, to me, religion and capitalism don't go together. In my opinion. And I like capitalism, but I don't believe religion. Capitalism is about me. It's not about sharing. It's not about giving. And that wasn't the way I was taught that religion was about. Religion was about helping your fellow man. I don't think the two things go together. Looking in the comments, communism is not sustainable. Learn about history. Flexing class, I don't see anybody. Look, if you're on the right, every IST is how you see the liberals. Communists, fascists, Marxists, everything but a capitalist. I look back at Obama's presidency. Dude was a capitalist. Yeah, he had a few social policies he was in favor of, but he wasn't trying to turn us into Venezuela or whatever the hell people were saying. I'm going to get in politics. Republicans give more to charity. Charity in this country ain't enough. In fact, you're suggesting that Republicans give more to charity. Where do you think the most poor Americans live? It ain't in blue states. It's in Republican areas. So if you want to suggest that Republicans are giving so much to charity, that's where all the poverty is. Now, the crime is where the people are, up north in blue cities. But the poverty is throughout the rural South. So the idea that Republicans are giving so much to charity, it clearly ain't enough. It clearly ain't. There's some really dirt poor people. You get down there in southern Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, that shit's poor as hell. They're not giving enough in charity. Wants to provide more buses for them. Can't provide buses for his own residents. Here holding hostage out money for school buses. You talking, I don't know what you're trying to say to me. Tell me more about this rapid, I don't get it. How are you classifying poverty? I mean, when you can barely survive, you can't, when you have what they call food insecurity, where you can barely even purchase enough to eat, that's poverty. That's poverty. You think about the American dream. If you can't afford none of that, you're in poverty. You could be happy, but you're still impoverished. The rural South is poor as hell, period. Very true. The lower class in big cities actually live quite well because of massive amounts of spending on these areas. Well, in the big cities, they don't talk all of that we're against free shit type stuff. They are willing to use taxpayer money and help out folks who are falling on their ass a little bit more. In the right portion of the country, if you fall on your ass, it's your fault. You need to figure it out. So it's a bit same thing with the minimum wage. If you look in the northern cities, particularly with minorities up north make good money. Brothers working for the post office, the park district, the transit authority. They're making union jobs. They're making cars and shit. Down south, they're not getting paid like that's where all the poverty is, down south. Well, you see really, really poor people. It's down south in those right-wing areas. Look at Indian reservations where they are given everything and it's a dump. You can give a man a fish and feed him for a day or teach him how to fish and feed him for life. I agree with that to some degree, but I think what to me, at least in my analysis, speaking to folks on the right for so long, no matter what has been bestowed upon a person, the right always has an excuse why helping you out is a bad thing. Everybody is not going to sit on their ass and use your assistance as a reason to not try to do better. But the right tends to think if you give her food stamps, she'll just have more children. If you raise the minimum wage, they'll just double the cost of everything. No matter what you suggest doing for the lower half, the right has a negative for it. But if you give the wealthy tax cuts, well, trickle-down economics works. They'll create more jobs. The right, I say this all the time, the left is more favorable to the downtrodden and poor. Yeah, it does leave room for some poor people to make, to lie about it and defraud the system, welfare fraud, you name it. But the left is more favorable to the poor. The right is more favorable to the wealthy. They tend to believe, if you got money, you worked hard to get it. Nobody should be telling you what to do with it. I mean, you work, you started with nothing and you got a lot. Nobody should knock that. You're creating jobs. You're doing a bunch of good things for the economy. The right is favorable to the haves, and they're more suspicious of the have-nots. Anybody that's among the have-nots that need help, first thing the right starts talking about is that person is probably trying to scam the system. That's why a lot of folks suggest that the right is more along the lines of defenders of the rich, because they are more favorable. And if you got money and your primary concern is keeping your money, you should vote Republican, because they are more favorable. They're not going to make you, increase the minimum wage. They're not going to make you give your employees health care. They're not going to make you let your employees union. None of that. They're going to do things that are more favorable to you. Why are millions of homeless in blue cities, says Ed G. Homeless people are everywhere, Ed. Here's the difference. Like, you see all those folks laying in tents in California? You don't see that in Republican areas for one simple reason. They outlaw it. If you are homeless in the Republican area, you're more likely to get a ticket for loitering and end up in jail. They're homeless there. They just don't let you see it. They'll throw your ass in jail. It's just, they're still homeless, but they don't let you just lay around on the street like that. So it's a little bit of a difference, but homelessness is everywhere. Now, I will also say this. The people are in liberal areas. Republican cities tend to be much smaller. I think out of the top 50 cities, you got to go to the 15th largest city. I think it's Oklahoma City before you find a Republican mayor. All the rest of that shit's Democrat. Big cities don't vote Republican typically. So you're going to have more homeless in areas where there's human beings. There's more humans in Democratic cities. And if you are homeless, why would you want to be in a rural area? You'd want to be in an urban area where there are more people to beg. There's more food in garbage cans. There's just more opportunities to get and increase your situation. You wouldn't want to go to a rural town if you're homeless. You want to get out of that. Walk, bike, beg, hitchhike. Get the hell up out of that area. Most of the homeless people, you want to be around other human beings. There's more opportunity to somehow, some way better yourself. National Democrats serve globalists, not the poor. I don't know what to do with that. Vote Kamala and become a Philadelphia. It depends on what's going on in Philadelphia. The rent is just so high compared to the wages they give us. California is a unique case. Any place where everybody wants to live. By the way, Florida under Ron DeSantis, that everybody believes has a great economy, is getting like that too. People are moving there, favoring Ron DeSantis and his policies. And the rent is getting higher in California. It's starting to happen, in Florida. It's starting to happen there too. I'm in favor of getting off your ass and getting a job. So am I. But if I'm going to go do a 40-hour job, I'm going to go put in how about you be in favor of me getting a decent wage? I get the point. You don't want to just be taking care of somebody who's lazy and sitting around, but to also be against minimum wage, to also be against unionization. Even you're against things that even benefit the person that's going and show you they're willing to work. That ain't somebody who's sitting around doing nothing. He's working and you won't even fight for him. I don't understand that. I guess that's communist. Communist law Harris will put innocent black Americans in jail again and keep them there for free labor. Sounds like slavery against us, Pierre Powers. Here's what I want to say. Can anyone tell me now? under Biden, they brought up the crime bill, and that Biden was locking up a lot of black folks for a very long time. Now you're hearing it in regards to Kamala Harris. When she was in California, can anyone tell me, other than Harris and Biden, anytime you've heard the right complain about black people getting locked up for a long time? We know a lot of blacks in this country have been locked up for crimes they didn't commit or over sentenced. Happens all the day. Have you ever heard anybody on the right complaining about that before Kamala Harris and Biden came along? I mean, we got folks, right? A guy in Missouri, not last week, but the week before last, served 30 years in prison for a murder he didn't commit. It was all over the liberal media. I didn't hear anything about it on the right. Have you ever heard of the right complaining about brothers doing too much time in prison for something they didn't do or being over sentenced before Kamala Harris and Biden? Did you hear them complaining about Kamala Harris or Biden back in the 90s when they was actually doing this shit? There's no denying that in the 90s when Biden was implementing the crime bill, a lot of brothers were saying that America was racist back then, that the laws were too tough on black people. What was the right saying back then? Racism in it hundreds of years ago. Don't do the crime if you don't want to do the time. Now all of a sudden Biden run for president. You know what? He was actually racist as hell back then. I tell you, it's too late. It's too late. You should have brought it up when he was doing it. I'm not lazy. I've worked hard for years, but I've worked hard for years and have zero in my bank and homeless. Wow. I'm not too excited to go back to work when the money vanished before it benefits me. And that's something I say all the time, is that I worked for minimum wage 1988, Burger King, $3.80 a damn hour. I was in high school. I was a burger flipper. I was a teenager. I didn't need a bunch of money. But that $3.80 an hour that I made, you could do a lot more with that in 1988 than the $7, $8, or $9 an hour they're paying them now. Fact is, even if you want to suggest that burger flipper jobs are for teenagers, the teenagers of today at those jobs make less than the teenagers back when I was working. They're making less money. That money don't go as far. So I strongly believe in a simple premise. When I used to own property in Chicago, I hired a bunch of people. I had like 20 tenants. I strongly believe you get what you pay for. If you don't pay people shit, it makes no sense at all to expect them to come to work and give you 110% every day. Wages have remained stagnant in this country for a long time. And we are crying that the people in this country don't seem to have the initiative to want to go and work hard. Well, what's the purpose of working hard if at the end of the day you still can't get ahead? Your life still sucks. I'm telling you right off the bat, for my own personal sake, I'd rather sit on my ass if going to work and working hard meant still suffering and struggling. Then what's the purpose of going to work? What's the purpose of even going? So I do understand that to some degree. Get a skill and get off minimum wage. Yeah, right. I'm fine with that. I got 3 college degrees. But once again, we're not going to give you a minimum wage increase. So if you're working at a job that won't give you one, then get a skill, get off your ass, and leave the minimum wage job. But understand, when you get the skill, we're not going to help you do that either. We're not going to help you with your tuition either. No matter, all we're going to do is give you advice. We're not going to help you out at all along the way. If you're if you're making minimum wage, don't come to us for a minimum wage increase. If you decide to go to college to better yourself so that you make more than minimum wage, don't come to us when you're going to college either. All I hear is the simple phrase, don't ask me for shit. Every measure of your life, no matter how bad it is, figure it out. Figure it out. And we know what we're talking about on the abortion debate. If you get pregnant, figure that out too. It's literally a don't ask me for shit mentality. I'm hearing it. That's all I'm hearing is whatever you do, make sure it does not involve you needing assistance at any way, fashion, or form. Don't ask me for shit. That's all I'm hearing. You look like Tim Scott. Maybe it's getting late. Is it getting that late? Not at all. But yeah, I'm in favor of getting off and getting you a job. But I do believe that if you want people to get off welfare and get off of the dough and things like that, at the very least, make it so that when they do go to work, you show them some love. I mean, tell it, look, I don't want to give you welfare. But then if you go out and get a job, I don't want to make sure you get paid properly either. I'm just going to leave it totally up to you. You need to figure out if they ain't paying you right, go get an education. And if you get ripped off while you're getting an education, you need to figure that out too. It has don't ask me for shit written all over it. So I think some of this is why you're dealing with the likes of Kamala Harris in complaining. But get off of the don't ask me for shit mentality. 1 p.m. Central, by the way, for you folks who enjoy civilized dialogue from all sides of the aisle without being blocked, banned, or censored, that's what we do here. 1 p.m. By the way, follow the program, subscribe on YouTube if you will. Monday through Friday is when we're here. And I will see you tomorrow. And for you folks on YouTube as well, I do appreciate you tuning in. See you tomorrow.